A forever island in Animal Crossing New Horizons is a chance to return to simpler times, to play the game the way it was intended, to relearn a love for the little things, to slow things down and marinate in the steady, casual progress of the cozy place you'll make into your forever home. But I've already played Animal Crossing like that before. So I want my Forever Island to be an adventure that challenges and inspires me to play the game in a whole new way. I've created the self-imposed and slightly unhinged challenge of speedrunning 365 days of Animal Crossing life in just over a month. I created a detailed set of parameters and a lofty set of goals that forced me to play the game in a way that felt simultaneously like the old simple days and like something totally fresh and different. And it ended up being my most exhilarating Animal Crossing journey yet, scratching an itch in my brain that I didn't even know I had. Join me as I share my quest to reinvent Animal Crossing for myself and land in the place I want to call forever in time for the 3.0 update. As we arrive at the island on what's supposed to be January 1st, 2025 of in-game time, I'll walk you through the rules I gave myself for this challenge and all the revelations and developments that unfolded along the way. Smooth playability was key from the outset, so I chose a map with two south-facing rivers in a mostly even semicircle arc. I plan to build my villager neighborhood and main business section in a centrally located layout. We were off to a strong start with oranges as our fruit and an orange airport, which I'm quite pleased with. And our starter villagers, Renee and Sparrow, are actually pretty cute. I placed my house along the edge of the river with my villager tents in a neat row beside them so that all of us can get to know each other and become the best of friends in no time. As we start collecting resources for our inaugural campfire, let's talk about the rules of the challenge. The idea is to use time travel to play on 365 in-game days, to build up the island bit by bit, collect as many Nook Miles achievements as possible, catalog as many items and DIYs as possible, and to complete as much of the museum as possible. I wanted to get a taste of everything a year of Animal Crossing has to offer, but in a condensed way, because I have experienced so much of it before on my first island. This is a sort of sampler platter of all the things that make Animal Crossing New Horizons great. I wanted to balance friendship, storytelling, critter catching, achievements, and decorating as evenly as possible throughout the evolution of the challenge. The end result is to have a functional, enjoyable island that I could return to playing in real time on January 15th for the 3.0 update. For the first in-game week, I'm allowing myself to play as long as I wish on any individual day, grinding for resources and getting the lay of the land. I allow myself one Treasure Island run to get a starter kit of supplies. And for the duration of the challenge, I'm allowed to have one monthly Treasure Island visit, with bonus visits banked for every Nook Mile achievement category I complete that has at least 3 stamps. I cannot place furniture without some kind of story purpose behind it, i.e. no speedrunning 3 stars just by chucking things down. I must participate in all holidays and special events, and limit house decorating to Saturdays to prepare for those HHA evaluations. After the first week, each in-game day has a minimum of 20 minutes of gameplay and a maximum of an hour. With the rules in mind, it's time to name our Forever Island Honey Cake, and toast to the beautiful and unknown future that lies ahead of us. Now begins day 1 in real time, where we'll clean up the island and try to earn enough miles to pay back Tom Nook for our getaway package. 500 points just for existing, 300 for talking to our new friends, 300 for updating our passport, and another 300 for snapping our first island picture. Just look at me now, Mom. Tom Nook teaches us the essential art of DIY, we catch some fish, and we start making our first ever snowboy. The benefit of starting out in the snowy season is that we've got lots of open space for crafting snowboys, and I definitely want to complete the Nook Miles challenge of crafting 20 perfect snowboys before the snow melts away. Renee teaches us a helpful DIY recipe, so now we get to work using all those weeds to craft a bunch of leaf umbrellas to sell to Timmy for some starter cash. This lets us buy a net so we can catch some bugs and snowflakes, as well as a slingshot to pop our first balloon. I got the falling snow wall recipe, which is definitely one of my favorite winter recipes, so day one is feeling pretty good. Next, we bring our animal specimens to Tom Nook to get our Critterpedia app, and go through the tedious process of handing over more of them one by one to get some nice rewards and entice Blathers to move to the island. We're already racking up points for spending bells, selling fruit, crafting tools, trashing tools, and we earn the admiration of the Honeycake residents in the form of a hat. I plop down my extra fauna specimens behind my house to donate to Blathers when he arrives, forage for more materials for tools, pass out from wasp stings like a noob, learn how to make medicine from a concerned citizen, and craft an extremely eloquent message for the bulletin board. It's still only day one, but we've collected enough Nook miles to pay off our tent with Tom Nook, ensuring that we start day two waking up in the comfort of a brand new home after taking out a sizable loan. But we can't end there now that we can earn even more Nook miles with the Nook Plus options. We plant some flowers in front of our soon-to-be house, and I'm only slightly triggered by remembering my flower core island and how much time I spent meticulously breeding hybrids. We'll take things a little more slowly here on Honeycake, at least in terms of horticulture. Before the day ends, we set up a nice spot for Blathers on the beach. Next, I have to manipulate some time travel to fix my first and certainly not last time travel mistake. I carelessly started on January 10th, not the 1st, so I had to time travel to the 1st, then again to the 2nd to put us back on track. On day 2, we update our outfit with our first Nook shopping purchases, a cozy winter sweater and shoes to match the pop of color. I crafted some DIYs to give some yard decor to our neighbors, some block toys for Renee, and a birdhouse for Sparrow. There's just always something so funny to me about giving a birdhouse to a bird villager. We tend to our flowers, and I'm reminded at how bad I am watering with the flimsy watering can. Time to get to work on the island and start thinking about the way I want to organize my days in this speedrun challenge. The island's still pretty barren and cold, but we make the most of it by crafting a little ice bar for the residents to enjoy. When I visit the resident services tent, I'm asked to help Timmy and Tommy build a shop, and of course, I'm up to the challenge. I use my Nook miles to invest in the crucial tool ring and first pocket upgrade. Then I do a little shopping and a little crafting to create my first tiny build on the island. We collect the first of many mysterious messages in a bottle before saying hello to Blathers, the newest island resident. My flimsy axe breaks as soon as I start trying to gather resources for my vaulting pole, so I realize there's no better time to make use of the newly opened Honeycake Airport and make my first Treasure Island trip to collect our starter pack of resources. The starter pack includes a set of gold tools, 2 stacks of each basic crafting material, and the remainder of my pocket space with gold nuggets to sell for bells. Now I can finish watering my flowers, hand over all the materials needed for the shop, sell all those nuggets for a fat stack of bells, and craft my vaulting pole to hunt for fossils for Blathers. I pick up all the fish and bugs we've caught so far and slog my way through mountains of dialogue to donate each one individually, assess our first fossil, and now we're only 5 donations away from opening a museum. Not bad for day 2. We set up a spot for Nook's Cranny right beside resident services, shake a whole lot of trees, and dig up some money before calling it a day. Now it's day 3, and Tom Nook is already taking suspicious phone calls and foreshadowing the island growth to come. Always scheming, that one. We get some gifts in the mail, including pears from Mom, and add a little flavor to our yard area. Renee teaches us our first reaction. We start grinding Nook miles, and then pop into the newly opened shop to meet Abel and check out the wares. Let the steady process of filling up our Nook item catalog begin. I check out a woefully unprepared Tom Nook in resident services and agree to literally do his job for him, and then purchase a few of the limited time special holiday items from the Nook shopping. 2025, year of the snake, I guess. I add a little decor to the shop, including some of the in-game custom codes that I've actually never used before, and those paw prints look pretty cute in the snow. I want to keep the villagers in a tidy row for easy friendship navigation, so I start placing down the plots for our next 3 villager houses. I purchase a few extra Nook Miles tickets and take off for our very first mystery island. And I simply cannot believe what a cutie we find on our very first ticket. I've never had an island where I felt like Bo really fit the theme, and I am more than ecstatic to invite him to Honeycake. At first I panicked because I didn't bring my vaulting pole and I was worried I couldn't even get to him, but eventually my brain cells started rubbing together to figure it out. I also have to remind myself to actually grind for resources before leaving the island, because unlike other times I've reset, I'm not giving myself untethered access to treasure islands. Our next Nook Miles ticket brings us to Patty, who I really do love, but I just had her on my Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs island, and I'm not ready to hang out with her again so soon. On the next island, I find Peanut, who I've never had before, and I pull the trigger without overthinking it and invite her to enjoy life on Honeycake. The final ticket of the day is a real winner because it brings us to an island where we not only fill our pockets with cherries, but discover the absolute doll that is Eunice. I've never had her on an island, and I think she's absolutely perfect for the energy I want to manifest for my forever island. I inexplicably kept in this footage of me just standing in the airport staring at my phone, but this feels like a good time to pause, breathe, and check in. How's everyone doing? Things are moving fast, and it's only in-game day 3. Admittedly, at this point, I've been playing for several hours, but the ultimate plan is that no in-game day will contain more than an hour of gameplay, so I'm setting down the most solid foundation I can. Back to work, I've got to craft all the furnishings for our new villagers, because Tom Nook is a con man who promised more than he could manage. Tom Nook was probably on the board of Firefest. The Treasure Island Starter Pack goes a long way in ensuring that we have all the materials we need for a heavy-duty DIY session. And this lovely slice of beach in front of my house does its job of being a place I can carelessly drop things to make room in my pockets. Next up comes a whole lot of crafting, submitting, and placing, and all of which Renee is very impressed by, and for which we can earn more Nook Miles. And then of course repeating the process 2 more times until all the villager plots are completed and ready to welcome new residents. So exciting. Next, I tackle another cute tiny build inspired by the stadiometer that was in the shop today, and put together a little first aid station, because after all, life on an untamed desert island can be a little treacherous. I hastily whip up my first and simple custom design code and get some Nook Miles to boot. I also reorganize my trees to make the process of shaking them a little more streamlined. And before the day is done, I paid off my home loan to pursue the next expansion and get a little more storage. My beach is already filling up with junk and things are starting to move fast. After finding 5 more fossils to donate to Blathers, we kick off day 4 with the announcement that we'll be building a full-fledged museum. I never quite finished the museum on my first island, but I got oh so close. So really looking forward to pursuing that achievement on this playthrough. Tom Nook gifts us fencing for completing the villager plots, and we received our first reward from helping Gulliver, a creepy mask. Delightful. Our villagers now have houses of their own, and I'm in love with the way they look. And it seems like they're pretty happy as well. The shop has a film projector, and I'm starting to get starry-eyed thinking about hosting movie nights and turning this wilderness into a home. But I try not to get ahead of myself. There's a lot of work to be done. I return to my newly expanded house and start with some simple decor to make this house into a home. I try not to overthink it too much, but at the same time, I have a bad habit of ignoring my interiors until the very end of decorating, and I'm trying to be a little more balanced in this playthrough. Also, hi, Snake. I reorganize my orange trees into a convenient little grove, then visit Abel to pick up some new threads, and then decide to throw a ceremony to celebrate the opening of the shop. It's so appropriate that my face is gross and swollen in this ceremony because I get stung by wasps a lot in this playthrough. Like a lot. I put down some fences to tie the neighborhood together, pop some balloons, catch some trash, catch some fish, catch some bugs, build a perfect snowboy, and chop a whole lot of wood. Although I've time traveled multiple days at this point, I've only jumped forward days and not adjusted the hours, so I'm starting to get a sense of the island at different times of day. This is the pattern I stick to through a lot of the playthrough, but I occasionally jump to specific times of day when the occasion calls for it. On day 5, it's early evening, it's snowing, and our cutie Bo has moved in. Sparrow is the first villager to teach us a DIY recipe, and this is the main reason villager house placement has been really important to me this playthrough. The way we spend each day varies throughout the challenge. because an hour is never enough to do absolutely everything. But finding those villager DIYs and message bottles is one of the most tedious grinds, so I definitely try not to miss that. Obviously, we have to pop in and say hello to Beau and welcome him to the neighborhood, and make our daily stops at resident services and Nook's Cranny. Renee gives us a gift for a little inspiration, so I start working my way to cleaning up the next section of the island, behind the river, earning a few more Nook miles, and of course, building a snowboy. It's evening on day 6, and we welcome Sweet Peanut to the island. I've upgraded my house once again purely out of storage motivation, but I take the time to reorganize my furniture and try to make the most out of the space. Of course, collecting more Nook miles for the effort. In my yard, I've already spawned my first hybrid, some lovely pink mums, and Sparrow teaches us to make a kettlebell, which I instantly craft for him, my sweet little jock. I don't usually love the jock villagers, but Sparrow is really doing it for me. I'm very excited to greet Peanut on her move-in day. She's so little and pink. The night is dark and cold, but I'm bundled up in this big weird coat from Abel, and I chomp some juicy native oranges to reorganize some trees and make a mini orchard with the non-native cherries and pears we have. And we may as well go ahead and start planting coconuts, scoop up all the Nook miles. I start practicing the loop around the back side of the island that I imagine will characterize my daily routine. Thinking about how to create an efficient and playable path while catching some night buggies and saying hello to my dying snowmen. The first week is almost over, which means my time constraints will officially begin. I don't want my island to be ugly, but I have to tell myself it can't be perfect either. Walking through and imagining the pathways helps me start brainstorming the way I want to balance aesthetics and playability on the island. Oh look, it's my cousin. I loop back to Nook's Cranny to buy some flowers to add a little decorative touch to my newly planted orchard, and I eat a bunch more oranges to dig up and rearrange my trees along the pathway in a way that will make shaking and wood chopping convenient. I also get a visit from cute little Wisp, which is honestly a delight because I feel like it's been ages since I've actually played Animal Crossing in the nighttime setting. Visits from Wisp are one of the achievements, so while I don't super love Animal Crossing in the dark, it reminds me that I've got to experience all sides of island life in this playthrough. Finally, we reach day 7, and by the end of our very first week, Tom Nook announces that our resident services will be upgrading. I'm kind of shocked I've already come this far with only one Treasure Island visit to support me, but it feels like a great accomplishment to start the challenge. I take full advantage of our new house storage to empty my pockets and put down the new bed from Luna. So good to know we'll be ending the first week in a cozy bed instead of our camping cot, which honestly we deserve. And then it's time to welcome the lovely Eunice to the island. When I stop by Abel's cart, it's more good news because now we can scout a location for the tailor's shop to come to the island. And I use my wardrobe for the first time, with my latest Abel purchase, earning another Nook achievement. I dig up some fossils and get a cute present from Beau while pondering where to put the shop. Then start walking through the island loop to take care of some miscellaneous tasks. I know that Isabel will be coming to the island soon, and that means evaluations. So I craft some DIYs and use what scant furniture I've collected so far to make a little camping spot at the back of the island. I imagine the island to be an undeveloped wilderness at this point, and that this could be a little area some of our residents are scouting out and studying for future development. I time travel to the next day to kick off week 2 and reset the hour so we're starting fresh at 8 a.m. for day 8. Resident Services is under construction, and as I putter around the neighborhood, I really start imagining what I want my daily life on this island to be like. I slow down the hustle and grind long enough to watch Beau and Peanut have this really adorable would you rather conversation. Then I earn more Nook miles for tending to our island's flowers. I can see the neighborhood coming together nicely, but I'm a little intimidated by all this other open space. I remind myself that it doesn't have to happen all at once, and I'm reassured by the map layout I chose. For a lot of the early days of the playthrough, I don't really see myself developing the back of the island. I'll keep carving out the path and developing a loop, but keep it mostly natural and wilderness based, and focus only on making a functional town center to begin. I create some clumsy custom codes to start marking my rocks so I can keep track of where they all are, and we get our very first visit from Sahara. I don't care what anyone says, Sahara is my girl. She's adorable. I'm delighted every time I see her. To close out the day, I earn some casual Nook miles, organize my money trees, and finally decide to take in some fossils and visit the museum for the first time since it's been built. I played through all of day 9, not realizing my capture card wasn't properly connected, but it mostly included the same routine of wandering the island, practicing efficient routes, as well as welcoming Isabelle to the island and the grand opening of Abel's shop. I held a belated celebration ceremony for the Taylors on day 10, so now we're back. Gulliver sent us a nutcracker in the mail, so that's immediately going in Peanut's yard because, I mean, come on. As you can see, the villagers are all settling in nicely to their new lives, and so are we. I bought myself a wizard's robe for no good reason at all, and started the process of checking with Sable daily to make her love me. We got our very first visit from Leaf, so now we can start adding crops and shrubs, and we earned some Nook miles for our continued shopping adventures and building up our catalog. Storage is already getting to be an issue, resulting in the dreaded piles of dropped furniture items on the ground, but that's okay. We don't have to make Isabelle happy right away, she'll just have to pardon our dust. I add a few coconut trees to our newly built campsite to make it a little more inviting. I remember that digging for clams is a thing, getting horrifying flashbacks of my first island, and the endless grind of fish bait to fill out that Critterpedia. Our flowers have bloomed in the orchard and they look lovely, and I plant some shrubs to add a little more scenery to our wilderness walks. I also simply must pay off a loan payment today because I need the storage. I just do. I also decide it's time to decorate our first little farm of the island for all of the pumpkin starts we got from Leaf. I also get flashbacks of my endless pumpkin fields from my first island and the grind to keep them watered, but I'm reminding myself that this challenge makes things a little different. I get to do a little bit of all the things I like about Animal Crossing, but I don't have to commit to doing every single thing all the time to maximum potential. Our measured Treasure Islands visits will give us enough cushion to feel comfortable and not overgrind, but not so much cushion that we don't have a reason to play and enjoy all the game's mechanics. There. I like it. Simple and cute. And, of course, some Nook miles for Sprout Out Loud. Next, I clear up more weeds in the untamed back half and start a casual flower field with the seeds we purchased from Leaf. I don't really have a theme or color scheme in mind for the island yet, so I don't know what flowers will land on for decor in the end. But for now, it's good to have some different variations growing. I love the flower mechanics in this game, but I've also done them at length, so stressing about flower breeds and flower management isn't going to be my earliest priority in this playthrough. For now, we're going with untamed, fresh island simplicity, with a few benches to enjoy watching nature at work. I also took advantage of the Snowboy recipes and materials I've earned so far to make some decorative winter trees for the plaza. I don't always know how to incorporate the frozen items, but on a new island still being built, it makes sense we'd just be building out of the resources of the frozen wasteland. Day 11 brings the very first special event on our island with the winter fishing tournament. So my very first priority is to pick out an outfit that says, I came here to catch fish and take a selfie with CJ. Early game fashion is a real struggle when you don't have much to choose from, but I feel like I found a vibe. I know that a pretty big chunk of my time today is going to be dedicated to the tournament, so I have to choose which task to tackle beforehand carefully. I've got a newly added expansion to the house, again thank goodness for those Starter Island gold nuggets. So I fit some more stuff into storage and try cleaning up my junk beach a little bit for sanity's sake. I ignore CJ for now to putter around the town center, digging up some fossils, checking in with residents, harvesting some rocks, and catching snowflakes. But I can't resist checking everyone out when I see how cute they all look for the fishing tournament. Those moments where you really see the villagers living on the island make you remember to pause and bask in the cuteness. I stop by Abel's shop and find a much more appropriate hat for fishing. I pick up a few items from Timmy and Tommy. And at Resident Services, I decide to go ahead and invest on upgrading my decorating and custom design tools. The next big moment of the day is checking out our very first campsite villager, so I use a little reaction to get myself pumped and hope it's going to be someone cool. And it's Henry! I feel a little conflicted about this because while I absolutely love Henry, he was also my campsite villager on my very first island, and I already feel like I've lived an entire lifetime with him. But he's still cute and we don't have a choice, so I guess he's coming to the island. Next, it's time to put my wilderness loop to the test and see how much I can accomplish and still have time to do the tournament within the hour time limit. There's already a lot of resources littering the ground, but the path feels comfortable and I'm able to clean things up as I work. I shake the trees for furniture, and of course I can't neglect my snowboy building duties. Also, if you're wondering about that blue corner randomly in the wilderness, that's obviously the secret fight club where the feral residents get out their aggression over how wild and untidy the island is becoming. So yes, it does have a story purpose, and it is definitely not cheating. I also make sure to dig up some clams for extra fish bait for the tournament, as well as searching for the daily DIY message bottle. By the time I made it to the end of the loop to water my pumpkin patch, I realized I wasn't going to have time to do the fishing tournament for too many rounds. But hey, that's okay. It's only the first tourney, and we're only 11 days into 365. All good things in time. I also realized that I needed to place a plot for Henry to move in, so that ate away some time. But finally, I was ready to compete in my first fishing tourney on Honey Cake. I do enjoy fishing in this game, and even though I normally loathe CJ, I feel like the fishing tourneys are where he really shines. With the help of fish bait, I managed to hang out in one spot and catch 6 fish, earning me the fish pochette as my swag from CJ, and of course the Nook Miles for the first fishing tournament. I probably should have stopped there because I was at the hour mark of playing now, but I couldn't help myself and I went for another round. This time netting 7 fish, getting the fish print with my swag points, and getting my first Cast Master achievement in the Nook Miles points. And because I got greedy, I decided to run through it one more time, catching 6 fish even though I was out of fish bait. I was well over my allotted playtime at this point, but I also realized that it was Saturday and there was an HHA evaluation coming up, so I went ahead and decorated my house a bit. I wouldn't realize until later on in the playthrough that decorating every single Saturday was not the most effective or efficient move, but I had pushed through so many house expansions so quickly, I felt guilty leaving it empty. I added a kitchen area to my main room and turned my newest addition into an in-progress crafting playroom. By now my playthrough had really gone off the rails in terms of time management, and for some unhinged reason, I decided to go ahead and start planning out a rock garden. I know, this was an insane choice, but for some reason I just felt like if I could confine my rocks to a single area, I could really get serious to establishing the layout for my island. This was a weird mental block that, in retrospect, doesn't make a lot of sense, but I guess something about the euphoria of the fishing tournament made me feel like I couldn't proceed with the island proper until my rock garden was complete. This would prove later to turn the playthrough into a chaotic direction, but ultimately it was a lesson worth learning, and it helped me shape my framework to make the most out of the rest of the challenge, as you'll see in good time. Starting day 12 on the island, it looks absolutely insane from all the mannequins I placed to force a rock garden. The HHA was pleased with my decorating, and as I casually gifted Sparrow a coconut, I gained Nook Miles for my first true friend. We welcomed our newest villager Henry to the island, and once we picked out a fresh outfit, it was time to go through our chaotic island and start the loop of daily tasks. We got more furniture from our trees, broke the rest of our rocks, and put down even more mannequins to try and make the rocks spawn where I wanted them. I also dropped down Clover custom codes in areas where I wanted to be able to run freely but didn't want rocks to spawn. I stopped by Abel's shop to make Sable love us, it's still getting there, and then visited resident services where Tom and Isabel looped me in on how to get KK Slider to throw a concert on the island. I bought a wheelchair from the shop to add to the first aid station and sold a plot of land to invite a new villager. Then I took 3 tickets on a villager hunt. I got my first bamboo island and found Naomi, who I know gets a lot of hate, but I'm sure there's an island out there somewhere that's right for her. Just not my island. I would like to make an all-cow island someday, and if that day comes, I'll come back for you, Naomi. Next, I found this weird blue rabbit that was not to my taste, and finally another bamboo island where I did seriously consider taking this little granny mouse, but ultimately passed. I decided I wouldn't use more than 3 tickets per villager hunt so that I don't end up wasting time on it, so I guess we'll just have to see who autofills the plot. On day 13 of the island, Isabel gave me a tutorial of how to make snowboys, as if I haven't been fighting for my life to make 20 perfect snowboys before the end of winter. The past few days have been intense, so I decided to keep it casual today. Turns out Rasher decided to move into our villager plot, who I've already had on my Fallout 76 island, so while I don't dislike him, I'm not especially excited to see him. I am excited that Bo teaches me the bashful reaction though. Sable doesn't love me yet, so I buy some wacky clothing items to cheer myself up. I know I'll need to catch sea creatures eventually, so I go ahead and pick up a wetsuit from the shop. And after that, I just casually make my established route around the island to shake trees, check rocks, kick snow, and check the crops. I got the loop down to 7 minutes by today, which I'm feeling good about. We got a visit from our favorite cousin Red, so I could pick up some new furniture and some artwork that I'm pretty sure is real. Next up, I put down another villager plot and collect 3 more tickets for a short hunt. On the first island I found Cobb, and I already have 1 weird pig moving onto the island, so I think I'm good on that. On the next island I found Walker, who seemed like a sweet boy, but I just couldn't see him fitting in on the island, so I gave him a pass. Finally we find Jeremiah, and I just don't really vibe with this particular shade of blue, so I decide to let autofill take the wheel. I also decide to pay off another home loan so that I can get another expansion for my ever-growing storage needs. Day 14 of the island, I'm bundled up for a chilling evening stroll. I gift some coconuts to some cute girls, and completely mess up burying the money tree opportunity. Bo teaches us a DIY recipe, and our number of true friends increases. I welcomed Rasher to the island, and then tried really hard to get this adorable campsite visitor Butch to move in, but I couldn't beat his game, so I left heartbroken. As I make my rounds, I realize I have greatly underestimated how many more tiles I need to cover to get the rock garden to start growing in. So I drop some more mannequins and add a few cute furniture pieces to the flower field. Next, I stop by the shops and earn some Nook Miles for talking to all the villagers in a day. And Sable actually remembers my name, so it's just a matter of time before we're best friends. I drop off a few donations that have been piling up to the museum, and pull the trigger on another villager plot. On today's villager hunt, I scoop up some non-native fruit to sell, and quickly pass on Cousteau as a villager, but on the next island I meet sweet Eloise and decide to try her out on my island. I'm a real sucker for the elephant villagers, so we'll see how she fits in. Onward to day 15, halfway through January, and we're keeping the evening play going. I welcome in Eloise, and I'm obsessed with her wallpaper, so that's a good sign. Just before I start my wilderness walk, I see Renee with a thought bubble, and I decide to let her run free to find greener pastures. Get it? Pastures. Cause she's a horse. I earned some more Nook Miles for my pumpkin harvest. Start to peel back the onion of Sable's lore, and most importantly find out that Bo wants to call me Guacamole, which I love. Pretty uneventful day overall, but just as I was about to pick out the next day's fit and hit the save button, Sparrow walked in as slow as humanly possible. So that's cute, I reckon. Day 16, we return to the daylight, and as I run down the neighborhood to say hello to everyone, I find 2 cuties in one convenient spot. After I gift them some fossils, I've unlocked the final stamp to my True Friends Nook Miles category. Which means I've got a bonus Treasure Island trip banked for later. So far I've made tons of progress with only my January starter kit, but I'm sure there will come a day where I need a little help. My remaining empty plot has been autofilled by Sly, who, off the top of my head, I have no idea who that is, so that'll be a fun surprise. I can finally see Eloise's fully decorated house, and I'm shocked, I have no notes. I don't even think I would need to redecorate this one. But of course, HHP and house customization is a long way off from now. On my daily rounds, I collect more friendship coconuts and find the first new rock spawn, which is nowhere near where I need it to be. Nothing to do but place more mannequins and furniture and hope for better luck tomorrow. While building my daily snowboy, I found my first lost item, and completing quests for villagers is one of our Nook Miles achievements, so best get to work. Next, we pay a goodbye visit to our OG villager Renee, the very first villager to leave Honeycake. She will be missed, but I have had her on an island before, so I can see her in my dreams. Storage is running short again, so I make a pit stop for a little Flea-organization, and then pick up all of our bugs to sell them to Flick for his very first visit to the island. I also drop a few more mannequins for good measure because I'm starting to realize how in over my head I am with this rock garden goal. But anyway, hi Flick! In other noteworthy news, Sable is really warming up to me, and Eunice is thrilled that I returned her missing bag. It's day 17, and I've made my second time travel mistake by skipping forward 2 days accidentally. So now, not only do we have to pretend it's day 18, but it's my birthday in-game, and I'm wearing the jokey laundry day outfit I had planned for the 17th. So when I get dragged to my surprise party, I'm feeling pretty underdressed. But it's nice to know the villagers love me. Also, cupcakes! I am going to put on this wacky birthday cake hat so I can make the most of the birthday vibes. And it would appear that I've maxed out another Nook Miles category with all my storage, so there's another Treasure Island visit banked. I've got to greet our newest villager, Sly, who is this jock alligator that I kind of remember now. I think he's supposed to be Rambo. Anyway, welcome. Next I pass out some birthday cupcakes, and then hit up the town trifecta of Nook's Cranny, Abel's Shop, and Resident Services. Renee is fully moved out, so after I pilfer some of her discarded furniture, I head out on a villager hunt. First, I find Graham, who I love, but I just finished building him a s'mores-themed paradise on another island, so I don't really think he's the one to pick next. I also pass on Wade and Angus, so at the 3-ticket max, we'll leave the fate of Renee's plot to autofill. Even though it is my fake video game birthday, there's no time to rest, and I lock in to drop tons more mannequins all around the island in pursuit of the rock garden, even though it's seriously messing with my snowboy game. I don't even really focus on any other chores. I've started leaving everything that falls on the ground because that's just less spaces for rocks to spawn. This is the beginning of the end of January, and it's the beginning of my rapid descent into rock garden chasing madness. Day 19 is chilly and snowing on Honeycake, so we bundle up and face the cluttered island madness again. I get a chance to meet Daisy May for the first time and purchase my first round of turnips. I've honestly never found much success in the turnip game, so this is one Nook Mile achievement chase that I'm a little nervous about. Renee's old plot still hasn't autofilled, so I decide to get another 3 Nook Mile tickets and go on a fresh villager hunt. I pass pretty quickly on my first 2 tickets when I see Hornsby and Admiral, but there's just something about Octavian on ticket number 3 that says, yeah, I think we could hang with this dude. Moving right along to day 20, and because my time travel whoopsies canceled each other out, we are rewarded with being an active island resident for 20 days. We welcome Octavian to the island, whose house really doesn't match the vibe, but he still seems cool. The tea dropping from Sable is really escalating to new heights, so I'm pretty sure we're almost best friends. We get a cute campsite villager, but I'm not ready to commit to any more new residents at the moment, and we get a visit from our favorite cousin Red. By day 21, the days were feeling pretty repetitive with the beats of gifting, learning, shopping, and wearing down Sable, because the futility of my rock garden aspirations were really starting to weigh on me. But then, in a miraculous breakthrough, a rock finally spawned in a spot I wanted. I felt reinvigorated to keep the pace going. I also got to chat with my girl Sahara, so overall it was a rejuvenating day. Day 22, I rushed through some villager interactions to head straight to the rock garden, but sadly there was no new spawn there today. Storage was becoming an issue again, so I bit the bullet on another house upgrade, and I got my first visit from Gullivar, so I got to break in my wetsuit. Day 23, I got a surprise house call from Beau before I even got dressed, probably to check out my newest house renovation. And once I was able to ditch him, I ran straight to the garden to find another rock spawned in the garden. Thank God. The first aid kit got put to emergency use to fetch some medicine for sick little Sly. We love an opportunity to see what our villagers' pajamas look like. And Sable has finally started gifting us patterns. It's a good day. We can do this. On day 24, Rasher rudely reminded me that we're still trying to entice KK Slider to come to the island, which I don't see happening anytime soon given the state of all the rock garden shenanigans and Florganization. And to make things worse, another day without a rock spawn means I've got to hunt it down and drop more mannequins. Day 25 renews my hope a bit. The rock doesn't spawn exactly where I had planned, but at this point I'll take it. After that, I redecorate my house for the next HHA evaluation to take my mind off the chaos happening on the exterior of the island. I make a resolution that I'll give the rock garden until the end of January, and I'll clean up the island and start working towards making it presentable for KK, whether the rock garden spawns on time or not. By day 26, I don't have time to take care of anything else first. It is straight to the rock garden to check our progress. And after another rock garden anxiety dance, I run the full route of the island to try and hunt down where this guy has spawned. This gives you a real complete view of the chaos I've been sparing you so far, with materials literally all over the place and mannequins making it almost impossible to move around. At some point, I literally just start emptying my pockets onto empty tiles because there was no more space for mannequins. I told you the rock garden was a weird thing to commit to so early on, but there's still over 300 days of the challenge and at least I won't have to worry about it then. Day 27, I'm so run down by the rock garden grind that I'm literally just wearing pajamas. And I know the villagers are going to start gossiping, especially when I have a public breakdown to see that once again no new rock has spawned. But I am rewarded for my online shopping, and Isabel said there would be a meteor shower tonight, so I time travel to the evening and feel oddly appropriate in my PJs. It wasn't easy hunting for Celeste through all the mannequins, and I never did find her, so I definitely made sure that every star I wished upon was for my rock garden to finish spawning correctly by January 31st. Day 28. We're still unhinged in our pajamas, embracing the storyline of a girl with big dreams who got thrust into the responsibility of being resident rep on an undeveloped island and nearly cracked under the pressure. However, we've got 3 more days of January left, and a new rock added to our garden, so I'm getting determined again. We've got this. I collect my star fragments with newfound pep in my step. Day 29 is not only Lunar New Year, but shockingly, another meteor shower has come to the island. Haggard but not totally beaten, I check to find another rock in the garden, and adjust my custom codes a bit because there are a few more spots at this point that I'm willing to accept. I time travel to the evening for the shooting stars and get my first introduction to the one and only Celeste. Day 30 arrives and it's cleaning day, baby. I'm excited to move into a new phase of island growth and focus on making Honeycake a navigable, comfortable place to exist. I run straight through the chaos to check out the rock garden, and there we have it. All 6 rocks in one cozy cove. It's not the shape I had in mind, but we can make this work. Now we can go into the custom designs app, make a change to our placeholder code and save it, and now all of our mannequins should be bye-bye. We can kick off all these extra custom codes, that takes a minute, and the next step is to try and pick up all the furniture and dropped items all over the place. I do end up dropping most of them right back on the ground, but I'm making organized piles marked with custom codes for builds I want to make soon. I'm also putting all the random clothing items gifted to me by villagers in front of Abel's. I'm sure they won't mind looking after this inventory for us for now. Cleaning just the main plaza area took most of the time limit, but there's just enough time for building a terrible snowboy fail, helping this drunk bird, and buying some of the new seasonal items on offer from Nook Shopping. It is now day 31, and we've got lots more cleaning to do here on the last day of our first month of the challenge. First up, I get to reenact one of my real-life nightmares by going through and opening all the mail I've let pile up. I've been periodically ordering things each day as I frantically focus on the rock garden, and inventory management is the name of the game moving into February. Next I see Bo with a thought bubble and my heart plummets thinking he wants to leave, but he actually just wants me to come for a visit and I literally cannot say no to him. Just two cuties hanging out, no big deal. Next I'm ready to start cleaning up all the debris on the untamed back half of the island, including taking care of some much needed weeding. And finally, I clean up the first pile o' nonsense with all the items that I can just store in my house for now. Day 32 of the challenge kicks off February with a sunny day, and we're going to focus on home renovations today. Mom sends us her embroidery in the mail to let us know she's thinking of us. Bo admires the piles of junk on our beach. Octavian is a sicky baby, and our DIY knowledge hits the next milestone. The shop has started selling the Festival reaction pack, so I snatch it up and immediately show off my dance moves to Timmy and Tommy. I think they're pretty impressed. We have a campsite villager who turns out to be Rosie, a really lovely gal, but I didn't think her color palette was what I wanted for the island, so I didn't invite her to live here. I spend most of my time today making changes to my home's main room, now just a living room kitchen combo, and use one of my new rooms to make myself a little bedroom. And a temporary junk room because, inventory management. We're still working on it. Day 33 brings some exciting news, as we've spent enough at Nook's Cranny for the shop to have an upgrade. And I'm still on my mission to clean up our island and start working towards a 3-star evaluation. My Saturday decorating really paid off as HHA sent us our gold plaque achievement, and we earned some decorated decorator Nook miles. Bo is thinking again, which we know is dangerous, and I convince him he'd be crazy to leave the island. Like, I get it, the first month has been a lot of roughing it, but we're gonna be a bustling paradise in no time. I do a little more cleanup in the woods and lose my ever-loving mind hunting down a mole cricket. I'm thrilled I finally catch him for the museum because I am definitely not doing all that again. On day 34, I'm feeling optimistic about our cleanup progress and start dressing a little less lazy. I chomp down some juicy oranges because my plan today is to move my non-native trees to a new area and build a simple orchard. I replace them with orange trees because I'll harvest those less often, and this is more of a walkway than a functional orchard space, I realize. And I think the orange trees look even better here. I place the pears and cherry trees in a slight asymmetrical pattern, then put up some corrugated fencing and play around with decorations. I do want a functional orchard, meaning I can shake the trees and collect the fruit without too much hassle. And as I decorate, I remind myself I'm on a time limit, and I don't have to obsess over perfect decorating, just focusing on little tasks each day along the way as we paint a broad narrative chronicling a year of life on Honeycake. The amount of clothes I've acquired has gotten a little out of hand, and I make up a story reason that all of these clothes are piling up around Abel's shop because the inventory is being rearranged and we're going to move the tailors next to Nook's Cranny for a streamlined shopping district. I clear out the money tree farm and make a space for the tailor's shop, leaving a little space that will act as a scenic pathway to our rock garden. I also bite the bullet and pay off another loan because storage never changes. It's now day 35, and the new shopping district is open, so I've got my man about town outfit on. We hit another Nook milestone for our newest house upgrade. And now it's time to check out the shops. Still a lot of junk to clear, but I can see the vision coming together. Soon, this will be a thriving town center. And our catalog will really start growing now that Nook's Cranny's inventory has been expanded. Today I've got to tackle cleaning up all of the clothing items I've got laid out. And I know that even with my storage upgrade, I've got to chill out on the clothes shopping because combined with all the weird outfits gifted by villagers, clothes are starting to take up way too much real estate in my house storage. I'm also going to try and clean up the beach in front of my house. It's a good thing HHA doesn't evaluate yards. I haven't even asked Isabel about our island ranking yet because I know there's still way too many dropped items on the ground. I tackle more cleanup on the back of the island, and I think I've finally cleared all the weeds even from the 3rd tier cliffs. I get back on the snowboy grind because I am keenly aware that the snow melts on February 25th, and I'm still only halfway to my goal of completing the Snow Maestro Nook Mile achievement. I also want to take advantage of the frozen furniture while it's still winter, so I build a little ice sculpting camp for funsies. Finally, I tidy up the other beach by donating a bunch of critters to the museum, get some patterns from Sable, and learn some wild villager lore. Bo wears contacts? Who knew? It's day 36 and I'm dressed up as a little snowman. I got this recipe from one of my perfect snowboys and I literally don't think I've ever crafted this headwear item before, so I'm going all in and I think it's adorable. I learned that my next door neighbor Octavian has a tiny alien living in his house, which honestly is probably a violation of his lease, but I ain't a snitch, so I'm gifting him fossils anyway. Today I really focus on checking in with all the villagers and giving them expensive gifts because they've been such good sports about the chaotic island construction, and I want to make sure they're still happy that they've moved here. A resident rep's work is truly never done, y'all. I also time traveled to the evening for a little night fishing, for the vibes, realizing I nearly missed Sahara's visit today, and hit a Nook milestone for fishing. For day 37, Leaf is visiting the island, so I dress in some natural green tones to try and impress him. I pay him a visit and purchase some wheat crops to add more agricultural diversity to our island, and next it's time to tackle another project. I collect all the items I had set aside to build a science class and head to the middle part of the island to start building. This idea just felt natural because I just kept getting so many items from villagers and popping balloons that all seemed to scream science class. I figure out here in the countryside, in between the orchard and the flower field, our residents can teach and learn together and conduct research about the natural elements of the island. I'm thinking I eventually want a vintage 70s commune vibe for the theme, so I imagine the villagers here to be invested and connected in working with nature. It's also satisfying to find something to do with all these Newton's cradles I keep getting gifted. The build goes faster and smoother than I had planned, so I have enough time to catch snowflakes, excavate fossils, visit the melting snowboys, water the pumpkins, and royally screw up making a new snowboy. I also set up an area for a small wheat farm with the crops we bought from Leaf. I was ending the day by planning out tomorrow's outfit when Eloise popped in for a visit. I thought she might like to see my newly decorated bedroom, but she didn't. She refused to follow me in. So that was a nice and awkward way to end the day. It's day 38 of the challenge and it's a very busy day. I read a sweet thank you note from Leaf, I have to take care of a 6 sly again, and I pick up a super important item for the catalog. Don't sleep on fences, y'all. I decide that it's time for this island to have a bridge that will connect to the orchard. I'm tempted by the brick bridge, but I think the Zen bridge will actually look better in all seasons, so I go with that. I place the bridge, and since I'm still fairly rich from treasure islands, and I know the villagers are broke, I go ahead and pay it off to get it right away. Next, I start sorting through the pile of miscellaneous outdoorsy items I have dropped, and look for some ways I can liven up the eastern side of the island. Just small touches to make the island feel lived in. Then I get distracted by building a snowboy that thankfully comes out perfect. I do catch some fish to get the Nook Miles Plus points for the day, but I gleefully do it right in front of CJ without talking to him because I really just can't with him today. Finally, I rearrange our OG orange grove and make a neat little cove to relocate my house. The next phase of development will be making a villager neighborhood I can easily access. Day 39 and I'm feeling good. There's lots more to clean up around here, but so far February is going really smoothly. Rasher wants to leave the island, and I think it's right to let him go. He's a good bacon, but I never really envisioned him staying long term. Our campsite villager is Ken, who I literally had on the same island that I had Rasher on before, so while I'm happy to see him, he won't be invited to live here. Nook Shopping offers the projection screen, so my dream of an island movie night is growing closer, and I think that's a good omen. It's time to start the day-by-day process of reorganizing my villager houses, and we may as well start with our OG villager, Sparrow. I really think I might keep him around forever. He's just so much a part of this island now. I've got a lot of things to clean up in the shopping district, 2 pocketfuls in fact. And now I can play around with some ideas for a marketplace and use some of the custom codes I found. I get my hands dirty crafting some stalls and try to find a way to incorporate the miscellaneous furniture items we've acquired. I definitely expect this to grow and change eventually, but I think a simple marketplace with the villagers offering some simple wares outside of the main shops gives the vibe that the island is coming to life in a casual small town way. One half gets cleared away and it's time to start on the next side. The satisfaction of cleaning up all these dropped items and putting them to meaningful use is going to feel so satisfying. I put them all loosely in piles that fit together, and I was pretty determined to make all of them work in some way, because I can only store so much in my house. but there was definitely a point in the build where I started to get overwhelmed with just how many items I had to deal with. I got a Nook Miles achievement for all the simple panels that I customized, so that was a little encouraging for me to soldier on. I added an entrance to the rock garden, but after a few more touches, I gave in and committed to simply cleaning up and putting the remaining items in storage. Still a super productive day though, I have to say. Get it? Productive? Because I also picked some pumpkins. I didn't even stop there with decorating. I added some more touches to the playroom/craft room of my house. I even added a little bed in case any of our villager friends want to stay over. I think they'll be pretty cozy in here. I also turned our upstairs into a dingy attic decorated with all the furniture items I don't see myself using in any upcoming builds at least. I want the items I'm truly interested in to be in my storage so that I can actually see what I have to work with when I peruse the storage menu. To end the day, we were rewarded with another Nook Mile achievement for Horde Reward. It is now day 40, and this island ain't gonna build itself. Now that Sparrow is relocated, I have to rebuild his little weightlifting yard. I need my favorite jock to stay swole. He gets a heart doormat because I love him, and he loves me, and he loves this yard I made for him. After all the cleanup we've done since the end of January, I'm finally ready to face Isabel and see what our island evaluations are looking like. I am truly and completely flabbergasted when she tells me what we got. 4 stars? 4 stars? I absolutely did not see that coming. I was not prepared to unlock KK's concert so quickly, but we've done it and it feels awesome. To mark the occasion, I update the island flag with a cute custom code. I honestly can't think of a more iconic way to mark day 40 of the challenge. I'm now energized to tackle the day. I say goodbye to Rasher, tend the flowers, dig up fossils, buy some turnips, build a snowboy, harvest fruit, harvest money trees, harvest the new wheat farm, and start construction on a new bridge. All the things a 3-star island deserves. I also relocate another villager and add Eloise's house to the new neighborhood layout. It's all coming together. Man, I hope KK Slider stays impressed. Day 41 is a big day because KK Slider performs a concert for all of Honeycake. We dance, we sing along, and although this is where the credits roll in-game, we're just getting started. Tom Nook gives me the Island Designer app, and even though I'm still in my party dress and heels from the concert, I throw on my safety helmet and get to work adding some pathways to the new neighborhood. I don't have any heavy-duty terraforming plans for the island at the moment since we're keeping it nice and walkable. But man, just having some pathing really makes it feel like it's not just a deserted island anymore. I got so carried away with pathing that I forgot Rasher has been moved out, so I guess I need to go villager hunting today too. But first I have to admire Bo being cute with a lollipop and pick up some more Island Designer permits from Resident Services. I've got to do a little bit of water terraforming to make more room for the neighborhood and relocate another villager. Bo is unfortunately wearing this hat I accidentally gifted him, but he's into it, so pop off, King. We get Bo's new plot placed down, take care of a little more neighborhood pathing, and then I've got to end construction to catch a flight. I'm finally going to use my February Treasure Island allotment to pick up a fresh set of golden tools, more gold to sell, a few more resources stacks, especially wood, and some stacks of Nook Miles tickets for villager hunting. It's worth noting for the future that I've got 3 bonus trips banked for completed categories. 1 for good things in store, 1 for growing collection, and 1 for true friends. I don't get to use 1 for golden milestone since I got mine from a treasure island to start with, but I do plan to earn the golden tool recipes on my own in the end. Next I start villager hunting and I run into Freya, who is extremely cute, and I contemplated inviting her for a minute. But it weirded me out that she was wearing the same shirt as Bo, and I really do need a sisterly villager since Renee is long gone. The next island had Jay, and the third and final ticket brought us once again to Dear Patty. Rather than let it go to autofill, I decided to use one of my bonus Treasure Island trips to order Cat for the island, because we really need a sisterly villager to round things out. On day 42, Isabel announces that I'm allowed even more tyrannical resident rep privileges, and today I'm dressed to get to work. The neighborhood is well underway, but there's still lots to do and lots of things to clean up already. Didn't we just get 4 stars? I welcome Kat to the island and pick up the DIY Plus permit, so soon we can start cooking goodies for the island. I get to cleaning, temporarily move Sly's house out of the way completely, and continue working on the neighborhood paths. I also download some extra custom codes so I could lay down some pathing that extends the brick of the plaza. I had to do a lot more cleaning up, but soon we'll have a nice extended plaza where villagers can hang and we can put seasonal decorations. I tear down the fencing from the old neighborhood and get to work rebuilding the new yard areas. And then it's pathing, and more pathing. To close out the day, I make my very first trip to Harv's Island because you have to visit his Phototopia at least once in order to unlock the co-op, and I know I'll want access to all of those in good time. Day 43 on the island, and I think the villagers are pleased that the neighborhood and the town center are getting closer to completion. Octavian even teaches us our very first cooking recipe. I relocate another villager into the neighborhood layout and do a bit of landscaping to add some color and fullness to our plaza. I craft some fencing, add some amenities, some lighting, and some seating. We add some of our flowers and a set of stairs to break up the repetitive pattern, and then add a bunch more brick custom design codes to add another section to the plaza. Then a touch more landscaping, and voila, we now have a plaza that is connected to our airport entrance. We are ready for visitors. I started adding a few more touches, but then I noticed Sparrow was desperate for attention, so I went to hang out with him. Cool, fun. We're having fun. On day 44, I probably should have put on a coat because it's snowing like crazy. As the neighborhood is growing, it's finally time to say goodbye to my very first tiny build. Next, we run into Eloise, who hilariously comments on the leisurely pace of the island. It's okay, she doesn't know we're in a speedrun. I build a snowboy, pick up the Nook Shopping seasonal offerings, and do a little extra shopping with Kicks, alright? Timmy and Tommy have stocked the perfect item to add to our new plaza, and then I do a little more work on the neighborhood and relocate another villager house. Eloise makes another surprise visit, and she still doesn't want to see my bedroom. What gives? I add some white tulips to the rock garden, and it looks like a good fit, and then I go check on the bridge. The villagers have donated over 3,000 bells, which isn't bad, but I'll probably pay it off soon myself. I don't want to fall into the temptation of only decorating all day, every day, so I make sure to interact with the villagers, run through the island to hunt for gold, tend the pumpkins, and earn some bells. I also pay Blathers a visit, and he tells us we must go exploring to find our favorite barista, Brewster. Day 45 on the island is Valentine's Day, and I'm so hyped to share my first holiday with the villagers. In the mail, of course, everyone has showered their resident rep with gifts, and I'm wrapping up gifts of my own in pink paper, and hopefully we'll be able to find and gift every villager today. It's pretty easy for me to locate Henry, Octavian, Sparrow, Eloise, Bo, Peanut, Sly, and Eunice, but no matter where I looked, I couldn't seem to find Kat. I did find Gulliver on our shore again, appropriately dressed in Valentine's red, so I throw on my wetsuit to get his communicator. There's not time for much else today other than relocating another villager house for the neighborhood. Day 46 has us over halfway through February. Gulliver gifted me this pirate beard, so that's what we're wearing today. Deal with it. Today in the neighborhood, I'm gonna relocate Peanut's house and focus on cleaning up the flowers so I can connect the pathway to our newly finished bridge. Then I visit Harv's Island to unlock the co-op and pay off the fees to invite Reese and Cyrus for their customization services. I also take my first boat tour with Captain, listen to his whimsical sea shanty, and deliver Blather's message to the infamous Brewster. And now we can get gyroids, which is great. On day 47 of the island, I find Kat right off the bat, so at least I can still give her a belated Valentine's gift. I get right back to straightening up the neighborhood, setting up an area so that we can move Sly's house back in civilization. Next, I work on extending the pathways into the shopping district, rearranging our market a bit to form a nice symmetrical area with a pathway leading to the rock garden. Oh, and I get a Nook milestone for popping balloons. Yay! I am so ecstatic and validated to see Eloise enjoying the community plaza, and I finally feel confident in our progress enough to build a 10th and final villager plot for the island. Everything's starting to feel connected in the town center, which is going to make my daily gameplay feel smooth and organized. We've come a long way from the January madness. Then I remember to plant the gyroid fragment I got from Brewster and report back to Blathers, meaning soon we'll have our own museum cafe. Finally, I head off on a villager hunt for our newest land plot, and I find Felicity on the very first ticket. I'm still envisioning vintage 70s vibes on the island eventually, so I think this groovy kitty definitely belongs on Honeycake. For day 48, there's a gentle snow falling on the island, and we dig up our very first gyroid. I figure he'll make a pretty good lawn ornament, and I think Eloise agrees. Just look at him. Look at him go. I keep things pretty chill today, updating my passport title for funsies. I harvest and deliver some friendship coconuts, welcome the new villager Felicity, help out Gulliver, try out some new colors on my house exterior, and build a snowboy. The snow is leaving on February 25th, and it looks like I still need to craft 5 more perfect ones to finish out the Nook Miles achievement. I'm growing a tad nervous I won't get it done. On day 49, we earned some Nook Miles for redecorating our house, and I start the day out with a hot cup of coffee from the newly opened Roost Cafe. My main project for today is to add some decoration to the rock garden, so I craft a few recipes, place some lanterns at the entrance, experiment with some custom codes I've found, and add some relaxing seating spots. I'm excited to put some of the DIY recipes I've been accumulating to good use, and I think this is a nice, simple space that adds some natural beauty to the town center. Next, I extend the pathways to reach the shops, and for a moment I was worried that Eunice was thinking of leaving the island. Turns out she's been beefing with Octavian, so as the resident rep, I step in to extend the olive branch. And by olive branch, I mean this purple comedian's outfit. And I let him wear it because honestly, I'm laughing. Next, I visit Harv's Island to welcome Cyrus and Reese to the co-op, and fork over 100,000 bells to unlock Leaf's stall next. At this point, I realize it's time to use another banked Treasure Island trip, so I fill my pockets with some more crafting resources, a bit of fish bait, some random Nook Miles furnitures, and gold nuggets to sell. And after selling the gold, I now have enough money to pay off my most recent and very hefty home loan. We have now arrived at day 50 of the challenge. We've been an active islander for 50 days, and we've fully completed the Dream House Nook Mile achievement, meaning I have a total of 2 bonus Treasure Island trips still banked. Although I'm feeling pretty comfortable after yesterday, so we won't need them for a bit. I'm playing in the evening hours for the first time in a minute, so I realize we could use a little more lighting in town. I mostly just putter around and earn some Nook Miles, so there's not too much action this evening, other than buying some rugs from Sahara and getting asked existential questions by Bo. I also realized before calling it a day that I can fit all this miscellany inside my house storage now, so unlike real life, I clean up after myself. On day 51, we're still playing in the evening light. Leaf gives us the recipe to make hedges, which will go a long way for spring decorating, and I run around the island digging up fossils. My hope in playing after 8 p.m. was that I would run into our friend Wisp, and sure enough, we found him. We chased down the pieces of his scattered spirit, and that's one more Wisp adventure completed for the eventual Nook Mile achievement. Of course, I build another snowboy, and I was even lucky enough to catch a few shooting stars. I ended the night by getting Blathers to assess all our new fossils and a late night cup of coffee from the Roost. On day 52, I'm back in the daylight, and I decide to jump straight away into adding some custom codes to our pathways to give them a cleaner look. It's all starting to look a lot more lived in, and at some point I'm looking forward to decorating the villager yards. Peanut teaches us the art of aggravation, and my heart melts when I find this trio of cuties having a little soup party in the plaza. Our cousin Red sells us some stuff, landing us another milestone for spending bells. And we close out the day by tending some flowers and collecting another gyroid fragment. Moving on to day 53, I'm busting out more winter outfits before the snow melts, and I'm so in love with the codes on our pathing. It's slowly but surely looking like a real island. My online shopping habits get rewarded with the Nook Shopping app and some Nook Miles points. My coffee drinking habits get rewarded with access to Brewster's to-go coffee services, and I'm only one perfect snowboy away from completing the Nook Miles category. Since it's Saturday, I focus on interior decorating. I make some big changes to the main room. I remove all the kitchen items and change my mind quite a few times as I try to transform the entire space into a living room. I've decided there's a cat living with me now, too, so I'll need to find a cute custom code for that. Next, I commit to building a dedicated room for a kitchen. I've been envisioning a 70s inspired yellow and green kitchen, but since my furniture and color options are limited for now, I'm pretty pleased with this funky, colorful, and cluttered vibe. And this is a great place, I think, to put Brewster's photo on display. On day 54, Isabel announces another meteor shower, so I'll take care of a few things first, and then time travel to catch the event. HHA approves of my home redecorating and rewards me with the bronze HHA trophy. I take a moment to mourn for this little frog who's been smushed by a rock spawning on top of him. And it's the moment of truth as I try my best to craft the final perfect snowboy I need for my Nook Miles achievement. And we do it. I'm thrilled. Can't wait to never build one of these again. Then I time travel to the evening to wish on some shooting stars. I don't find Celeste, which is a shame, but I do find that the evening vibes with a clear sky in the rock garden are actually immaculate. Day 55 is the last day of snow for the season, and I'm very curious what everything will look like when it melts away. After I catch up with my girl Sahara, I spend today focused on community improvements. I design a yard for Eloise that can be a cozy reading area for her to relax, and start extending more of the pathing to round out the neighborhood, gleefully kicking the snowballs into the tree before I clean up some more. I connect the pathways to the bridge, and now that the whole neighborhood and plaza area is connected, I decide to fill in this space with a cute playground for the residents to enjoy. I think they're gonna love it, and I get to end the day overhearing Peanut and Eunice gab about their dreams. So sweet. It's day 56 and the snow is gone. Springtime is right around the corner. Obviously, I have to run around the island and see what things look like now that the snow is gone, and I'm thinking this is cute. We can work with this. I also spot Octavian in the plaza with the thought bubble, and I thought I'd be keeping him around for longer, but I decide to let him move out anyway. Henry is already enjoying the park we built, which is adorable, so I'm gonna keep those community improvements going. I decorate a yard for Beau. He's a lazy villager, so I give him a cardboard table with some snacks and a TV VCR. I just love the idea of Beau sitting out here watching VHS tapes and eating soup. I also drop a fishing pole in case he wants to take advantage of the riverside property. Next, I make a trip to Harv's Island and welcome Leaf to the co-op, get a snazzy new hairstyle from Harriet, and pay off another Lloyd so that Red can come to the co-op. Back at home, I keep up my yard decorating momentum and create a workshop vibe for Kat. She just gives me Home Depot lesbian vibes, and I love that for her. On day 57, Isabel announces that Festival is coming soon, so I definitely want to decorate for that. I can tell the villagers are already hyped when I find them having a little music party in the plaza. I use the extended plaza area to start laying out all the Festival items I've been gradually picking up from Timmy and Tommy's shop. It's definitely giving me my first taste of how I can use this area for decor that can change with the seasons, and gives me ideas for how I might change the shape or structure of it in the future if I want. It also suddenly dawns on me that I need to take down the frozen trees because we are frozen no more. I rearrange the market area a bit to make room for Festival stalls, and I know that in general, I want to jazz up this town area a lot more, but it isn't a priority yet. At this point in the playthrough, I'm really challenging myself to rethink the way I play Animal Crossing. Instead of obsessing over decorating or hyper-focusing on collectibles, I'm really starting to learn how to pick and choose a balance of tasks in a way that makes the island feel like it's organically unfolding in the story of a year. While creating a Festival drum circle on the beach, these ants remind me that Flick is here today, so I run to my house and collect the bugs I've been saving, then run around the island until I find him. I sell my bugs and commission my very first bug model. Then I return to the beach to add some finishing touches, and yeah, I'd say we're ready for Festival next week. I pay a visit to Harv's to get a new haircut from Harriet, and I'm just now realizing her name is a pun, and I'm gonna have to pass on this hairstyle, I'm afraid. I pick up some items from Red's raffle that I can display for sale on the Festival stalls, and do some shopping with Leaf to pick up new crops and shrubs. Day 58 in February is almost done, so I start embracing some spring colors in my outfit. My first bug model arrived in the mail, so I proudly put it on display by the river. I bought a lot of stuff from Leaf yesterday, and there's a winnowing machine on sale at Nook's Cranny, so I think today I meant to focus on planting and farming. I also realized I forgot to say goodbye to Octavian, and I'll need to villager hunt today to replace him. I dig up some of the flowers from our field and start planting some of the hyacinth seeds I got from Leaf. I'm putting reds and yellows together to get orange, which I'll eventually need to breed purple. I do my watering right in CJ's face, because we all know I'm not talking to him. Next, I make a quick pit stop in the plaza to hear what the girls are up to, and I have to smooth things over when Kat and Peanut disagree on whether it's cool to apologize. It is cool, guys. Apologizing is the cool thing to do. Next, I take those bright yellow and orange flowers I've gathered and start mixing them into the initial red and white mums I planted back when we first arrived on the island. I like the way the flowers are framing the main road of the town, but now that spring is coming and the grass is green, I feel like I need to incorporate more variety and more vibrant colors. I close out the day with a villager hunt. We land on Croak first, I think. Maybe it's Cousteau, I don't know, and I don't want them either way. Next is a purple kangaroo that I don't know the name of and don't even bother talking to. I do pick up a DIY recipe on the island, and it's a sleigh, which would have been super useful when the snow was still here. But it does complete my DIY Nook Mile achievement, so that's another Treasure Island visit banked for the future. On the third and final ticket, I encountered Julia. And I can't imagine a villager who would be more excited to celebrate Festival with us, so I invite her to the island. Day 59 is the final day of February, and I have no idea what to do today. At this point in the playthrough, I realize it's good to have a game plan for each day. Only a few key daily chores and then one more focused project. First, I pay a visit to welcome our newest villager, Julia, and after the dailies of checking the shops, logging into the Nook Stop, and finding my DIY recipes, I choose the project of adding some more small crop fields on the agricultural side of the island. I've now managed to collect all of the crops except for tomatoes, and this will ensure we have whatever ingredients we need to start doing some of the cooking recipes. We've also earned another Nook Mile achievement for all our planting. Before the day is done, I do a little waterscaping so that I can hop around all parts of the island without building more bridges, and then I water all our newest flower seeds. Day 60 marks the first day of March, so I'm really vibing with the spring colors. Mom sends us a present in the mail, and there are some new bugs out and about for our Critterpedia. That also means more Nook milestones. Today I nudged myself to add a little decoration on the outer areas of the island and build some of the DIY recipes I've been cataloging. I start working on Sly's yard and learn for the first time that you can lay down on these boxing ring pieces. Sly's definitely a reference to Sylvester Stallone, so I think it's cute to give him a boxing area for his yard. I add some landscaping and realize for the first time that it's hilarious having sweet pink Peanut next door to gruff Hoorah Sly. I add a little transition area between Kat and Eunice's house and give Eunice's yard some rustic cottagecore touches because she's clearly giving grandma. Also, Julia's settling in nicely, darling. Next, I whip up a cute little picnic spot on the peninsula, somewhere for a nice lunch break for anyone who's working on the little farms we've got set up on this side of the island. And because spring is underway, I replace some of the hardwood trees in the rock garden with some bamboo shoots, so we can harvest young spring bamboo for those seasonal crafting recipes. I also think this will add some more variety and natural beauty to the rock garden. Finally, one of the Nook Miles Plus dailies requested some cooking, so this feels like a good moment to craft some flour from our wheat crop. I also forgot what my kitchen looked like, so it was nice to revisit it. It's cute. I like that putting my stove in here forces me to actually enjoy my house interior and spend time here. Now it's day 61, and I've been stockpiling fossils for a while, so I figure it's time to pay the museum a visit and hand them over to Blathers. I also donate some art I'd ordered from Red, and I'm legitimately shocked that he fooled me on this one. I thought it was real, but it's all good because being a victim of fraud is an achievement in this game, apparently. I stopped by the Roost for some coffee, and Bo is here, looking so cute. I wrap up all of the unwanted fossils and decide today I should focus on friendship and gifting my villagers. I do want to get as many of their photos as I can, and I've been slacking on giving them individual attention lately. I go on another captain tour where I don't find anything too interesting, but I get a DIY recipe. At Harv's Island, our girl Sahara has set up shop in the co-op, and Harriet gives me this cursed hairstyle, but you know what? I'm gonna roll with it. It might grow on me. Finally, I paid off another Lloyd so that Tortimer can join the co-op. Day 62 is a seriously big day, as it's my first holiday event on Honeycake with Festival. I am so excited to see how cute the villagers look in their outfits, and Pave is here looking unhinged and fabulous. It's been so long since I've actually done this event, so I'm fully hyped. I have to stop at Abel's shop to pick out a more appropriate dress, and now I'm ready to party with Pave. We love Pave. Pave is king. I realized I might have to cosplay Pave. I chat to the villagers and admire how stinky cute they look in their festival outfits, and then start trying to catch my first feather. I missed a lot, and accidentally sparked this hilarious dialogue from Kat about how frustrating it is to not catch a feather. Yes, Kat, that is frustrating. I spent the entire day running around the island looking for feathers and trading with villagers to get 3 of every color and earn a milestone for island togetherness. I grind on in to feed Pave's insatiable appetite for plumage until I finally earned the grand prize of the festival parade float. I pop it right down immediately because just look at it. Glorious, incredible, no notes. I take a breather in the roost after all the excitement, earning a Nook milestone. And when I come back out, I'm so excited to see my villagers actually using the decorations I put in the plaza. This is what it's all for, man. I end the day with some group stretching because I can't resist the chance to see Pave and everyone in their festival gear getting together in the confetti. An incredible holiday on Honeycake. Day 63 is the first rainy day on Honeycake, and Eunice must have seen it coming because she was thoughtful enough to send us an umbrella in the mail. Thank you, Eunice, it's adorable. I decide to leave up the festival float a while as a point of pride, but all these other decorations have got to come down. I'll have to start thinking now about what kind of spring decorations I'll need to put up in their place. At this point in the playthrough, I'm really starting to see the passage of time element, and I'm loving it. Real-time play is awesome, but I think this is something unique and special too. I learned that Peanut and I are raincoat twins. The bamboo is growing in, and I love the way it looks. And Eunice is literally killing me with how cute her rain outfit is. Julia teaches us a cooking recipe, and I get to see the inside of her house for the first time fully decorated. Very cute, very classy. Running all around during Festival made me realize I need to make the island more accessible, better flow. So I craft some ladder kits to set up on the cliffs, and do some waterscaping to make more hop spots for convenient crossing. On the beach, we have another run-in with Gullivar, and of course we help him find his communicator. I visit Harves to welcome Tortimer, pay off another co-op Lloyd, and Harriet gives me a haircut that I actually really like for once. Thanks, babe. For day 64, it's sunny again, so I'm fully embracing my inner farmer girl. After I check the shop, I head to the rock garden and look at Julia. Look at her. She loves it here. I've done good work. I harvest and tend to all of the crops on the island, looking literally so cute in my perfect farmer's outfit with my little watering can. I finally gotten tomatoes from Leaf, and I decide to put them in Peanut's yard because I think the girl needs a hobby. I clean up some of the weeds forming on the cliffs, and then I go pay Red a visit. I make sure the art is real this time. I continue the farmer vibes by shaking down the orchard and selling some fruit. Then I earn some Nook Miles for learning a recipe from Eunice, and take care of a sniffly, snot-nosed baby boy. And I end the day with some more group scratching because we'll definitely be sore from farming. On day 65, I decide to rock this very extra pink dress that Felicity sent me in the mail. After I hunt for the daily DIY lesson, I hit the shop and catalog the oh-so-important wheat field item. And then I do some outdoor chores to really bask in the whimsy of spring. Sometimes in the playthrough, I get overwhelmed with options, and I constantly remind myself that I can't do everything every single day if I'm only playing for an hour. The only thing I commit to do every day at this point is find the DIYs from a villager and a message bottle, check Nook's Cranny, and log into the Nook Stop for Nook Miles points. Although Festival did end my streak because I was so distracted by the fun. I was pretty laid back about catching critters in January and February because I knew there was nothing I'd miss. But now I think I'll need to get more intentional and put more focus on the Critterpedia and museum completion. I don't want to obsess over decorating, but I don't want to ignore it completely, so I resolved to just make little progress here and there. Today I add some pathing by the farming area. I know I can't talk to every villager every day, so I'll need to start being intentional about days that I focus on that, to get villager photos and certain achievements. But I can still chat and appreciate the villagers I do see when I see them. Day 66, the rain is back, and my focus for today is villager gifts. No Henry, the rain won't slow me down. I also order another bug model from Flea, learn a reaction that gives me another Nook milestone, and stop by Abel's shop. My clothing inventory started getting so overwhelming early on that I decided I didn't need to worry about visiting the tailor every single day. And when I do go, I limit myself to the floor items and only one dressing room visit, because it's too easy to get carried away and want to buy everything. It's actually stunning how much time I could spend just shopping in this game. My villager gifting pays off tremendously when I'm gifted Eunice's photo, which I immediately put in place in her yard. But then I get distracted from villagers when I decide I want to craft some spring items and add new decoration to the plaza. Then I get distracted again by deciding to dig up all the gyroids I planted so far, which earns me a Nook milestone, but man, am I all over the place. I need to chill and recenter, so I visit the Roost, where I get to see this special visit from Wilbur and learn the recipe for Brewster's cookie. Next, I tackle adding just a little bit of pathing to the other side of the island before calling it a day. Day 67 brings a beautiful spring afternoon, and I'm starting to appreciate the vibrant green coming out in the grass and trees. I put my newest butterfly model on display and spend the day puttering around with some outdoorsy tasks. I harvest my first tomatoes, then check on the other crops and earn some Nook miles for executive producer. I rearrange some of the flowers in the neighborhood and plaza area, then do lots and lots of watering in the meadow. So much so that I break a watering can, which is good in the long run because trash tools are an achievement. I focus on watering the flowers that I most want to spawn some hybrids and earn some Nook miles there as well. Day 68 of the challenge, I try to slow down and take inventory of how the island is growing and how to best choose which projects to work on each day. I start a list of things that pop into my head in general so I don't forget them, and I decide to try out a pattern where I dedicate different days of the week to different areas of focus, because I think this will add some order and clearer focus to the challenge. For today though, I just wander and do things as they come to me. I chat with the villagers I see, and just look at things to decide what I might decorate next. I worry briefly that Sly wants to leave, but it turns out he needs a new catchphrase, which is great because hoorah is a little intense for me. Since I gave him a Rocky-inspired yard, I go for Tiger's Eye, since I figured Eye of the Tiger was too long, and he friggin' loves it. I ignore Daisy May because hustling turnips is too hard for me to focus on right now, but I do admire Bo being extremely cute with his fishing. I harvest some spring bamboo, and see that the azalea bushes have come in and are looking really lovely in the rock garden. I hope they still look as nice whenever they bloom, but the seasons will reveal all, and that's one of the fun parts of this challenge. Next, I craft some more items to decorate the plaza. It feels appropriate to use the flower and bamboo items to herald the beginning of spring, and I'm really liking the way it's looking. I venture out to catch sea creatures, which is an element of the gameplay I've mostly ignored so far. But all I catch is sea slugs, and yes, I am salty about that. I also recreate the first aid station because I was really attached to that little build, and I like not having to dig medicine out of storage. I put it across from the park because, that's where boo-boos are bound to happen. I'm not 100% obsessed with it by the time I finish, but I think it will do. Day 69 marks the first time I try running through a week of the game using a daily focus. I imagine I'll tweak it and figure out what works best for me, but for now, the plan is to use Mondays to check in with Harv's Island and other faraway places. Tuesdays, I take care of the plants. Wednesday is for decorating. Thursday is for critter catching and the museum. Friday is for friendship. Saturdays, I take care of interior decorating and miscellany. And Sundays is just a wild card, whatever moves me kind of thing. So once I check for DIYs and Nook's Cranny, I peruse my inventory for items that I think I want to get customized by Reese and Cyrus. I head to Harv's and start with a haircut that's just a little intense, but I am going to be out and about today, so I don't mind looking a little formal. I chose Mondays for Harv's because that's when the vendors restock their items, so I pick up some art from Red, limit myself to one raffle prize, then move along to Leaf to pick up more flower seeds since planting flowers is another Nook Mile achievement. I move on to Reese and Cyrus to get some items customized. Then I stock up with lots of goodies from Sahara, and finally I welcome Katrina on her first day at the co-op and get my fortune read. With her tidings of good luck, I catch a tour with Captain, and arrive at a winter island, which would be more exciting if I hadn't just played hours and hours of winter a few days ago, but I did get Nook Miles. I dig up a gyroid, open a DIY bottle that I already know, and feel obligated to catch a few snowflakes while I'm here. Day 70 is Tuesday, which I'm making a plant day, and it's raining so I don't even have to worry about watering anything. I pluck these yellow mums for crafting mum cushions, and I say hello to Peanut before absolutely ransacking her tomato garden. I run into Gulliver while checking the beaches for a DIY bottle, but I'll come back for him when I complete my loop. I check the meadow, and I'm disappointed there's no orange hyacinths yet, and I harvest the pink cosmos for crafting cosmos showers. Next, I move on to the orchard to harvest some fruits, and when I accidentally pick up a piece of furniture, I decide I just need to relocate that item altogether. We want smooth playability here, not cluttered decorating, as tempting as it is to me. Once I gather all the fruit, I head up the cliff and plant the flower seeds I bought from Leaf yesterday, then harvest red windflowers for crafting windflower fans. I go ahead and dig up the fossils I see since I'm making the loop anyway, then check the other beach for my bottle before harvesting all the crops. The circular island loop I plotted out back in the beginning is really coming in handy for making the most of time and getting things done in a single hour. I finished helping Gulliver, gifted some produce in the spirit of Plant Day, and noticed that Abel's has green items on display for St. Patrick's Day, which is pretty cute. Day 71 is a Wednesday, and I've dedicated those to decorating. First, though, I have to try on the samurai wig that Gulliver sent me in the mail, and check out our campsite villager. It's Wart Jr., who honestly I could maybe see on this island, but I'm good with the lineup I have right now. I have a momentary freak out thinking Eunice wants to leave, but it turns out she just wants us to have a secret greeting, so here you go, Eunice. The secret greeting is Glitter Drop. I admire Sly enjoying the plaza flowers and then get to decorating. Today I want to give Peanut some yard decor, and since she's already got the tomato plants, we're going for a garden vibe. She gets a bike so she can scoot around town, I add some custom code for funsies, and there you go. I think it's very Peanut. I find Felicity literally hanging out in the road, so I figure she could use a nice yard too. I'm really just working with whatever limited furniture I pulled out of storage and adding little touches, but I think it's working. I'm on a roll, so I decide that Julia can get a pop of color too. Next, I try to add some more decor to the pathway on the west side of the island, and I run into Sahara. After I do some shopping with her, I play around with some items and see how they work. I want this area to stay natural looking, but I am hyper aware that these flowers might soon propagate out of control, and I really don't want that. I play with some items and custom codes to fill in the spaces, but I'm not convinced it will stay like this. I really think simple is better in this case, so next decorating day I may come back and change some things, and just use a transparent custom code to keep the flowers from getting out of hand. My final decorating touch of the day is to take off my New Year's wreath and replace it with a shamrock door plate for St. Patty's Day. Day 72 is a Thursday, which we'll be dedicating to critters and museum donations. Even though Flick is visiting and I will commission another butterfly model, I'm mostly interested in fishing today. I can see that Eunice clearly has the same idea as she is literally fishing in my backyard. I am pleased to see that I finally got some orange hyacinths growing, but no, fishing. We're focused on fishing. I took some time to reference critter lists online, and there are definitely some fish I want to go ahead and catch in March. Right now we're looking for afternoon and all-day fish, but I'll also need to be deliberate in the future about choosing specific times of day to catch night fish. I spent a pretty big chunk of today just focused on the river mouth trying to catch a sturgeon since they leave at the end of March. This is where fish bait comes in clutch, because you can keep tossing it in until you see the side shadow of the fish that you want and don't have to waste time catching every single fish. I did get tricked a few times by black bass, but after I switched sides for vibes reasons, I finally caught my prize. Since I used up basically all of my fish bait hunting the sturgeon, I spend the rest of my time today swimming in the ocean and looking for sea creatures. I catch my first scallop and get to meet Pascal, who we all know is an absolute legend, and I get some Nook Miles as well. I end the day with a hefty stack of donations to Blathers and a relaxing coffee break with Brewster. Day 73 is a Friday, and it's going to be all about friendship. But we're not talking to CJ. He is not my friend. First, we have to avert a crisis and convince Felicity she doesn't want to leave, and then sweeten the deal with a present. There were lots of fossils I got assessed yesterday that aren't needed for the museum, so gifting them will win people over and get them out of my inventory. The winning moment of the day is when Bo gives us his photo in return, and that I managed to gift every single villager after tracking down Julia hiding in the aquarium. I decided to use another Treasure Island trip to stock up on some more gold and a whole bunch of fish bait, and paid off my final home loan to close out the day. Day 74 is a Saturday, a day dedicated to interior decorating. Admittedly, my plan from the start was to use Saturdays for house decorating, but with so many other early game tasks to tackle so far, I have definitely been neglecting it for a while. I pop by resident services and change up the look of my exterior again. Now that spring is coming into fruition, I feel like I need some softer, lighter coloring. Back at my house, first and foremost, I've got to change out the falling snow wall because spring is here. This will also give me a good idea of more items that I should be ordering or customizing for my home. Around this point in my playthrough, I realized that playing the game in this bizarre time travel pattern has my brain approaching it the same way I approach Stardew Valley, which I actually kind of love. Stardew Valley moves along through time at a pace you can't control, and you have to make choices and plans about where you want to devote your energies each day. Animal Crossing is of course a lot more chill, but adding this layer of time travel makes the game new for me in a way I really appreciate. When I reset my first island to pursue the world of building specific themed islands, I was ready to move on to that style of play, but I did lament all the achievements that were lost. This playthrough makes me excited about chasing achievements again, without making me feel defeated about having to grind every tiny thing the hard way all over again. I'm still learning as I go how best to approach things, but that's the fun of the challenge. Before I wrap up interior decorating, I also push myself to try and decorate my basement. And with limited wall, floor, and furniture items, I cobble together this kind of courtyard greenhouse something or other. I don't know, but I hope HHA likes it. Then I pop by KK Slider in the plaza and take in a relaxing sunset concert. Day 75 is a Sunday, wildcard day. I can do whatever moves me. I clean out my mailbox because boy do I love neglecting that, mosey around the neighborhood and check on the neighbors, and I decide to spend my time collecting seashells and digging up clams, since there are definitely Nook Miles achievements for those tasks that I haven't been putting much time into so far. I run around the island just kind of checking out the vibes, digging up fossils along the way. The big project I commit to is tearing down my sweet little science class to make way for future developments on the island. 07 to our little scientific researchers who did their best in the early months of the island to learn about the island's ecology and help us chart out Honeycake's development. I do my first ever terraforming to put together a bit of decorative landscaping that I hope will shape the pathway flow to this area in the future. I scoop up my Nook Miles points and play around with pathing. Who knows if this is the final look, but it helps me visualize for the future. Day 76 is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Ain't none of my villagers gonna be pinching me. It's just after 8 a.m., but Gullivar is already drunk, no surprises there. I help get him a safe ride home, and then head straight to the airport for my off-island errands. I'm finally ready to commit myself to getting a job, so I'm kicking off the Happy Home Paradise DLC today. Nico escorts me to the office for my first day on the job, I meet the rest of the crew, and get suited up to design vacation homes. Normally, Eloise is always the first client, but since I already have her on my island, I was delighted to see Olivia arrive as my first walk-in. We chat about her hopes and dreams, and then head to the location to get started on my first HHP build. If you've done the Island Reset game a few times, you know that speedrunning HHP by carelessly opening boxes and finishing homes as quick as possible can be a very daunting and tedious prospect. But you do it because you want to be able to customize your villager homes. I'm determined to actually try and make decently cute vacation homes for my clients, but because I'm still on the time crunch, I won't necessarily be able to spend ages on detailed and luxurious builds. I kind of like the challenge of putting something together quickly that still makes me happy, and hopefully this will give me inspiration for future things I can build on my island. I end up pretty satisfied with my hasty speed build of a cozy spot where Olivia can take sweet cat naps, and I think the client is pleased. I scoop up my first paycheck and get a crash course in exchange rates, and spend my earnings immediately at the company store. Very excited for how HHP is going to expand my cataloging horizons. But I've got to earn more money first. Next I hurry to Harv's Island, and the luck of the Irish gifts me an edgy boy band haircut from Harriet. I inspect the latest selection of art at Red's, go crazy picking up walls and flooring from Sahara, and finally pay off the fee for the last co-op spot so that we can have kicks on Harv's Island. Day 77 is another Tuesday, a plants day, and CJ has the audacity to literally hover around my front yard. Stop trying to make sea sports challenges happen, CJ. It's not gonna happen. When I check my mail, I've received the pirate treasure chest from Gulliver, so that'll be fun to decorate with at some point. During my daily perusal of the shops, I am uncontrollably drawn to purchase every single part of this baby chick costume for no good reason at all. And then it's off to the races to figure out what to do with my island plants today. I've been trying to breed orange hyacinths for the eventual goal of creating purple hyacinths, so I do some flower management and dig up some blooms to relocate and rearrange to keep up my flower breeding efforts. Next, I harvest the fruit from my orchard and tackle the daunting task of cleaning up the native windflowers that have started overgrowing my upper levels. Finally, I harvest and water all of my crops and start expanding the fields a bit, ending my day with another Nook Mile achievement earned for Sprout Out Loud. Day 78 is a Wednesday, so that means it's time to focus again on some decorating for the island. Kix is in the plaza, and he just happens to be selling a backpack that perfectly matches my outfit for today. For today's decorating inspiration, I have to clear away some stumps and flowers on the cliff, and I play around with an idea that's been floating in my head for a kind of agricultural research center. I know that I'll need to plant a lot more crops to get the full Sprout Out Loud Nook Mile achievement, so I'd like to carve out an area up here where I can have all those crops, but with a little aesthetic and story-driven touches, even though I don't have a clear idea of how I want that to look in the end. I also think I'll need to have a more focused and dedicated area for flower breeding, so I think that will fit in with the agricultural research theme. I also build the island's first incline to help reach the 3rd tier cliff. I'm thinking this is where I'll set up the flower section. I also add some more decor and custom codes to my decorative terraforming because I don't want to be annoyed by fossils spawning up there. And I craft some tulip surprise boxes to add to the spring decor in the plaza. I highly recommend using the tulip surprise box on your island because catching your villagers opening them up and reacting to the surprise is truly adorable and entertaining. Day 79 is Thursday, another critter-focused day, and today I have a game plan. I start by crafting a bunch of fishing rods, then I pull out all the fish bait I've got in storage, and I don't let myself get distracted by anything or anyone as I head straight to the pond on the 3rd tier cliff to dedicate a whole day to fishing. If you don't know, there are a handful of fish in the Critterpedia that can only be caught from a pond or river on the 3rd tier cliff. One of them, the stringfish, is leaving at the end of March, so my goal is to definitely catch that one. But the sooner I catch all of those, the sooner I can fill in this pond and have the space I need to set up flower breeding on the cliff. These are all fairly rare fish, hence the elaborate game plan. I'm using fish bait to increase the spawn rate of fishes, and at first just try to catch every fish that spawns because you need to catch a lot of fish to get the Nook achievement. I decide pretty quickly though that I need to ignore and respawn any shadow size that doesn't belong to the fish I'm seeking, because time is everything in this challenge. I do eventually catch a cherry salmon, which isn't surprising since it's not as rare as the others, but I'm glad to have one checked off my list. This goes on for a while, and I do have to start stacking up my fish to make room to catch more. About 15 minutes in, I finally catch a char, another 3rd tier exclusive fish. I change up my positioning around the pond and I keep fishing and fishing, getting increasingly disappointed by each black bass that I catch. Eventually it gets close to the 45-minute mark and I start feeling pretty discouraged, thinking I won't be able to get the stringfish today. But finally I am successful, and the character reaction is actually perfect. With the pressure taken off, I keep fishing for a few more minutes, since I'm already here, but I actually managed to also score the rare golden trout, meaning I have knocked off all of the cliff fish from my Critterpedia in one sitting. I rush to the museum to gleefully hand over donations to Blathers, and even though I'm almost running out of time today, I simply have to give Felicity some medicine for her cold because, look at her, she's pitiful. Day 80 has arrived, and it's a Friendship Friday. I log in the evening hours, and I'm feeling myself for a Friday night out in my green marble dress. And now we can go check in on all our villagers, see how their week has been. Sparrow is still being a jock, he gets a fossil. Bo is still adorable, he doesn't get a fossil because we already have his photo. Henry is on a spugged little walk in his muscle shirt, he gets a wrapped fossil. Peanut is still fabulous, she gets a wrapped fossil. Sly teaches us a DIY we already know, but he still gets a wrapped fossil. Cat is thinking about moving, but there's no way I'm letting that happen, and she definitely needs a wrapped fossil. Eloise is walking into a tree. Here, have a wrapped fossil. Julie is keeping it tight with a late night workout, and I think she wants a wrapped fossil. Felicity's not at home, so I take a detour to check out the shop, and by the time I finish, she's at her house, so she can join in on the wrapped fossil joy. I still need to find one more villager, and along the way I pick up my DIY bottle and run into Celeste hanging out on one of the cliffs. I stop by Red's boat and earn an achievement milestone for Patron of the Arts, and I finally find Eunice being quite darling on a stroll through the orange grove, and even manage to make a wish on a shooting star. Day 81 is a Saturday, which means interior decorating and KK Slider. I chat up my villagers since so many of them are gathered in the plaza, and we rock out to the KK concert. I'm feeling uninspired to work on the inside of my house tonight, so instead I just putter around town and fill in some of the details I'd been skipping over on my pathing, and adding a path that leads to the museum and campsite beach. I also realized from finding Celeste that it's well past time I should tear down the ice sculpting camp, and maybe sometime soon I'll make a stargazing area instead. Moving right along to day 82, it's a wildcard Sunday, and I'm a wizard today. Deal with it. I take a moment to appreciate Julia trying to make sense of the playground gym, and then I head to resident services to check in with Isabel about our island evaluation. We're still only at 4 stars, and apparently she's been out of shape about the dropped items lying around. I purchase a storage upgrade from Tom Nook for our expanding catalog needs, and then I continue the work I started last night to the town center by redoing some of the paths to be a little wider and more symmetrical. I do get interrupted by Henry because he wants me to create a catchphrase for him, and I wanted it to be Snickerdoodle, but that didn't fit, so we're just gonna roll with Snickerdude. Back to work, I use the Plaza brick code to make Abel's sisters and Nooks look a little more finished, and I feel like the whole area just looks more calming and less chaotic now. I'm not really sure what I want to put in these open areas, but to avoid looking at a blank space, I put down some construction items to let the villagers know that something is definitely coming, once I think of something. I feel like this lemonade and honey stand aren't really working in this area anymore, so I tear it down and add some hedging for more structure and vibrance for the area. When that's all finished, I take some time to just peruse the Nook Achievements app on my phone, just kind of evaluating what I've accomplished so far and what goals I've been slacking on, so that I can plan for the weeks ahead. I'm pretty close to finishing out the Reactions achievement, so I pop by the Nook stop to buy the Hip Reactions collection, and close out that Nook achievement category, banking another Treasure Island visit. I finish out the day with a stretching session because I have definitely been ignoring that one, earning my first milestone in that category at last. Day 83 ushers in another bright Monday morning. I got a reward in the mail for finally stretching with my villagers, and before I can run my off-island Monday errands, I get stopped by Sparrow to patch things up between him and Peanut. He gave her a pinball machine, which yeah, I'd probably forgive you too, man. I also find Flick so I can commission another butterfly model, and then I scurry on over to Captain for a boat tour. He takes me to a rainy but unexciting island that has a DIY recipe I already know. Next, it's off to Harv's Island for a new haircut that I'm not really sure I can pull off, and see that Red only has fake art to offer us this week. I hurry through some plant shopping, some rug shopping, and a touch of customizing before heading to Happy Home Paradise to work a shift. I take to the beaches to drum up business and end up designing a relaxing little bamboo home for Chester. I'm not sure I've ever taken notice of Chester before, but he's actually a cutie. I approve of this panda. Day 84 means we're on to another Tuesday plant day. First, I proudly display my newest butterfly model from Flick, and when I'm looking for the daily DIY, I find a sick little bow. I craft up some fresh tools because today's plant focus is going to be yet more flower management. I'm getting a good amount of orange hyacinths, but no purples yet, and I still have lots of overgrown wild windflowers to take care of. I'm throwing a lot of flowers away because if you've ever let flowers overtake your island, you know that it can get pretty stressful pretty fast. I also know that I need to plant a pretty large number of flowers eventually for one of the Nook Miles achievements, so all good flowers in good time. I go ahead and plant crops in the agricultural build I made last week and harvest my fruits to sell to Timmy and Tommy. Day 85 is a Wednesday, so we can do more decorating. I do suddenly remember that Bo is sick, and I am totally embarrassed that I just left him hanging yesterday, so first I have to square that away. Next, I finally craft myself a wooden storage shed, now that we've purchased enough storage for the recipe, and that is a game changer that's going to make decorating days so much easier. I've got a pretty focused and singular build in mind for today. We're going to fill in the open space across from Abel's with a cozy tea shop. This is a good opportunity as well for me to craft and customize some furniture DIYs. And I even earn a milestone for furniture freshener. I'm pretty delighted with this little build. I know there are huge parts of the island that aren't decorated, but having this central area around the shops and homes have a little charm and life to it puts my soul at ease. Day 86 is another Thursday, Critter Day. First though, I eavesdrop on a cute conversation between Eunice and Kat. I also run into Henry in the flower field and learn that he wants to leave the island. I know we all know that Henry is an A+ villager, but I have had him on my island at length on my first ever island, so I'm ready to let him go and see what new friend we can make instead. I take in some casual pond fishing and use the opportunity to pop a balloon over the water so I can collect the Lost Treasure achievement for Nook Miles. Once I collect the Nook Plus points for fishing, I move on to some sea creature diving, something I'm still trying to catch up on, and I get an exciting visit from our beloved boy Pascal. I end the day at the museum with fossil assessments and donations, and a little sipperooski with Brewster at the Roost. Day 87 is another Friendship Friday. I'm definitely making more of an effort to use Fridays to set the time after 8 p.m, because I most certainly have not had enough run-ins with Celeste and Wisp. I make the rounds to gift the villagers who haven't yet given us their photo, say hello to all the others, and give a final farewell to our smug boy Henry, who barely got a chance to use his Snickerdood catchphrase. I also do a little plant and clothing shopping for Friday night funsies, and then I search the island for Wisp or Celeste. Along the way, I discovered the huge surprise of seeing our very first Lily of the Valley, which means Honeycake is a 5-star island. I don't see Celeste or Wisp anywhere, but I do remember to greet the campsite villager, Big Top, and I finally hunt down the only villager I haven't talked to, Eloise, hanging out in the aquarium. I end the night with a big group stretch, because what brings friends closer together than gradually chipping away at a tedious in-game achievement? Day 88 is Saturday, and guess what? I still don't feel like decorating my house. I see that Henry has moved out, so that means it's time for another villager hunt. But first and foremost, we have to attend the KK Slider concert in the plaza. I also remember that we found a Lily of the Valley yesterday, so I make sure to check in with Isabel for the formal 5-star evaluation and the golden watering can recipe. Since I don't feel like decorating my own home today, I head to Happy Home Paradise to work on designing homes for villagers instead. I can't resist taking on Stu as a client since he wants his nose to be hugged by the smell of trees, and we build him a simple woodsy getaway. Wardell teaches us about polishing, and since there's time to spare, I squeeze in another client and build Diva a green room. So sparkly. I also harvest all the vines and glowing moss from the island before I leave because, honestly, who among us hasn't pilfered supplies from a job at least once? Day 89 is our first villager birthday, so we are dressed the part. We show up at Felicity's house with a gift for the birthday girl, take a minute to dance and bask at how freaking adorable they are in their fancy birthday outfits, and claim our first Nook Mile award for villager birthday celebrations. Next, Peanut teaches us a cooking recipe that ends up completing the Writing a Cookbook Nook Miles achievement category. It's a wildcard day, so I just putter around finding miscellaneous things to do. I water some flowers, shake some trees, and tear down an entire 3rd level cliff on a whim. Wildcard, baby. I have a vague idea that I want to make some kind of direct pathway to Red's Beach. But at a certain point, I give up for the day on that, because the flow I want just isn't coming to me at the moment. I forgot about villager hunting yesterday to fill in Henry's plot, but no one has autofilled, so I guess I can do that today. After passing on whoever this is and whoever this is, I find Static with my last ticket, and since I need a cranky, I take a chance on him. He feels fitting for a wildcard day. And lastly, some stretches. It must be done. Day 90 is a rainy Monday, but for some reason I thought it was a Tuesday, so I got my daily focus a little out of whack. I started the day by harvesting some gyroids I'd planted and made some progress with the Nook milestone. Next, I checked out the new house in the neighborhood, it's quite the statement, and welcomed my newest villager, Static. Again, I was confused about the day of the week, so I dove straight into focusing on plants. I switched things up a bit and did my loop in reverse, harvesting all of the crops and letting the rain do my watering. I did some tree shaking and flower rearranging on the cliffs, throwing away any non-hybrids because there's plenty of time to plant more flowers later. Then I purchased some art from Red, after careful inspection of course. I also made the tricky decision of tearing down my Zen bridge. Now that I have water terraforming, I can adjust the river to put it in a slightly better position. The flow has been irritating me for a while now, so even though it'll cost a lot to replace, flow is truly a worthy aspect in this playthrough. Lastly, I get stopped by Felicity and she asks to visit my house. And she actually cares about checking out my bedroom decor, so she's definitely risen above Eloise in my personal rankings. Day 91 is April 1st, and it's the start of cherry blossom season. It's also April Fool's Day, so obviously I'm dressing up for that. I realize this is a jockey uniform, not the jester's uniform, but when else am I gonna wear a jockey uniform? I also like imagining that whatever villager gifted it to me told me it was a jester's uniform, so I'm just a victim of a prank myself. I've noticed the villagers are always hanging out in my yard because they're drawn to the gyroids, so of course I lay out some whoopee cushions to try and play a little prank of my own on them. Because in my head I think it's a Wednesday decorating day, I return to the task of fixing the island flow in this area here where the river separates resident services and the middle section of the island. I want the path to be a little more straightforward, but that does mean I'll have to completely tear down and redo my little decorative terraforming here, and make some adjustments to the river so that I can rebuild my Zen bridge. I also get some treats from Kix and coffee from Brewster, which gives us another come home to the roost Nook milestone. Day 92, I finally realize my mix-up on the days, so I can dedicate this Wednesday to my Monday errands instead. First, I greet a campsite villager, and for whatever reason, I'm kind of interested in having this weird wrestling bird on my island. I leave it to the fate of the cards, but I don't win, so I guess no lucha for us. Probably for the best, Sparrow might end up getting jealous. I visit Harv's island and realize this is the first time I've been back since Kickstall has been paid off. And sure, now he has the jester shoes that really would have tied my outfit together yesterday. I also pick up a painting from Red, the usual from Sahara, and tend to some customizing. Over at Happy Home Paradise, I build a comfy fireplace haven for the adorable Vesta, and have an important conversation with Nico about DIYs. Lastly, I take a tour with Captain, and he finally brings me to a 2.0 island so I can harvest all the vines and glowing moss. Day 93 turns out to be Eunice's birthday, and it's a Thursday, so we'll be critter hunting today. Don't worry, I did stop by Eunice's party and give her a present, but I hit record at the wrong time, so here's my classy exit. I dedicate the lovely spring afternoon to wandering the island in search of bugs, and earning a pretty penny from Flick. I also do some deep sea diving for critters, making another Nook milestone step. I take all the newest critters to Blathers for donations, and I get a fun cameo from Rossetti when I stop by the roost. Brewster also gifts me his coffee beans for my return customer progress. For day 94, it's a Friday, and I decide to change things up a bit by loading the game during the 5 a.m. hour. You know the music, you love it. Peanut is doing some early morning baking when I bring her my Friday friendship gift, and Nook Shopping has some fun new seasonal items available. I take care of some tool crafting because as much as I hate it, I've got to talk to CJ on his visit today. I have tons of fish piled up that need selling, so I agree to take on his Sea Sports challenge so that he'll buy them off me. This is really the heart of why CJ bothers me. Like, what do you mean I have to prove myself to you before you'll even trade with me? Who does this guy think he is? But at least I can clear out all of these fish and make a little money. And I broke a fishing pole along the way, so the Trash Tools achievement hits another milestone. I time travel to the afternoon so that I can visit Nook's Cranny and finish checking in with all of the villagers, meaning I also get a second DIY lesson for the day. I also reluctantly clean up my April Fool's prank to put up my newest butterfly model. On day 95, it's Beau's birthday, and our first week of April is coming to a close. We love to see our best boy dressed in his finest, and I think it's charming that Julia is here to help him celebrate. After we give Beau his gift, it's off to tackle projects. I forego interior decorating in favor of some outdoor decorating. The central parts of the island have really come into their own, and I want to start spreading that to the other side of the river. First, I want to fill in this open space behind resident services. It takes a little bit of crafting, and then a little bit of customizing, But I want to make this space a workshop and utility area. I even make an emergency Saturday run to Harv's Island so that I can get some furnitures customized. I rely again on the brick custom code to give it some cohesion with resident services. This custom code is actually so practical, and I'm really glad I found it. I use another custom code to make a compost space, and now these rotting turnips that have been sitting on my beach for weeks finally have a spot where they actually belong. Next to the crafting and storage shed, I put down some trash bins and cardboard boxes to give the appearance of a recycling center. It's a simple build, but man, do I love it. Next, I've decided that I want to move my orchard because I feel like it makes more sense on the side of the island with all our crops. But that does require tearing down some cliffs to make space and digging up the pear and cherry trees once again. That's all I have time for today, but I make sure to end with a KK slider performance. On day 96, my Twitch chat helps me pick out a very snazzy outfit for Wildcard Sunday. And honestly, I'm vibing with this trend of picking out completely random outfits for Wildcard Day and putting to use some of the niche and weirder clothing in the game that I never have an excuse to wear otherwise. I order some Mario pipes from Nook Shopping because those can be very useful, and I don't know why I haven't picked them up already. I purchase another batch of turnips from Daisy May and try to remember to catch cherry blossoms since the season is quickly ending. I'm very jealous of Bo and his full basket of petals. I also catch a bit of shade being thrown by Julia, but I know they're besties, so it's all in good fun. I pick up where I left off yesterday in relocating the orchard. The asymmetry of my previous orchard was cute, but I just feel like I really want my trees very spaced out so that I can actually see all of the fruit when it falls and gather it quickly on harvesting days. After a little bit more terraforming, this new location gives me room to do that, and I like the way the path of the orange trees leads up to it. I use a cute wooden plank path code to decorate around the trunks of the trees, which feels very Stardew Valley coded to be honest. And for decor, I keep it very simple and spacious, with a single bench, a splash of fencing, and some garden lights. I also play around with the water terraforming and the river, just for a little more space so a path can curve around the orchard. I play around with my custom pathing some more to connect the path of the pumpkin patch to the new orchard area, and it feels very rewarding to feel like this slice of the island now has a complete path that connects point A to point B. With the time I have left in the day, I chat with Eunice and Static, then do some crafting and cooking to earn Nook Miles plus points. Day 97, Isabel announces the next fishing tourney, and we're back on another Monday errand day. Since I'm already rocking the mustache, a sailor outfit feels appropriate for our travels. On Harv's Island, Red is only selling fake art and one I already have, but Sahara's inventory of course never disappoints. At Happy Home Paradise, Lottie lets me know I can start using DIYs in my vacation home builds. Our client today is Tybalt, who challenges us to make a baseball-themed home, which was a lot of fun. And then Lottie enlists us to rehabilitate the facilities that were carelessly abandoned by some other real estate developer, who, let's be honest, that sounds like it was Tom Nook. And we make a schoolhouse for the island named Apple. Time was running short and the build wasn't as detailed as I would have liked, but I can always come back later and elevate it. Back on the island, we take care of Gullivar passed out on the beach, and then end the day with a captain tour where we get the chance to harvest more vines and glowing moss. Always a good thing. Day 98 is a Tuesday plant day, but before we can tackle any of that, a very needy sparrow pulls us aside for another home visit. I'm realizing that I go back and forth between wanting to call him Sparrow or Sparrow. Like, he's clearly a sparrow, but also there's no W and he's a jock, so Sparrow, sparring. I don't know, tell me what you think in the comments because I'm truly on the fence. For today's plant focus, I'm committed to making some pretty big moves. We're looking at 4 months on the island now, and the flowers are definitely starting to run wild. I'd like to clear out our original meadow so that I can build and decorate on this part of the island next. And maybe create a space at the back of the island that's a dedicated flower space so I can control their growth a little better. I start by digging up all the flowers that aren't hybrids, and I plan to just trash all of those. They can easily be regrown, and planting a certain number of flowers is even required for an achievement. I also work on the flowers on the cliff as well. I just really want to knock this out. When that's finished, I do a whole bunch of weeding, and I dig up all of the remaining flowers, which are my hybrids, and relocate them to the 3rd tier cliff, spacing them out so that I'll hopefully clone more of them. I'm already rethinking my initial plan to use the cliff for flower breeding because even if I fill in this pond, it just doesn't seem like enough space. But for now, the hybrids are set up to spawn clones in their own space, and the rest of the cliff and meadow are clear. Day 99 of the challenge, that feels so exciting to say, is another Wednesday, which means another day for decorating. I start the day with a cup of coffee for energy, with pigeon milk, of course, and I sell my turnips to Nook's Cranny for a decent profit, earning not one but 2 stamps towards the Cornering the Stock Market Nook Mile achievement. For decorating projects, this pond has been driving me nuts for ages. When I picked the map, I thought it was kind of a unique and interesting shape for a pond, but it's actually super annoying when you can't get the right angle to cast your line for a fish, and having to run around the awkward U shape to get a better position. I was going for a kidney bean shape, but I'm not great at water terraforming, and the time factor is always on my mind, so I think this shape at least is a big improvement. Then I run into Sly and get invited to an impromptu hangout, and he sells me a green leaf pile, even though I really wanted to buy that dinosaur, actually. Give me that dinosaur, man. I get inspiration for another build across the river from my house. I want to set up all my butterfly models here, and then I work on rebuilding the small terraforming piece I had before to create a little visual breakup between the 2 different regions of the island. Next, I play with pathing leading from the Zen Bridge. This is definitely the next area I want to start building on and decorating, now that the orchard's been relocated and the meadow has been cleared. And even though I'm not sure what will go here yet, having the path is the first step for getting an idea of how all the parts of the island can connect together. Finally, for my last project of the day, I've got to address the awkward terraforming project I started by Red's Beach. I stare at the map for a while and get input from my chat to try and visualize the flow. I deforest a whole bunch of cedar trees. Don't worry, planting trees is a Nook Mile achievement too. And then I tear down more of the cliff in the back part of the island. Eventually, this is where my flower field can go, and it still gives me easy first-level access to get to Red's Beach. Since the man himself is here on the island today, I also make sure to pick up some artwork for the museum. The next day is a big moment because it's day 100 of the challenge. 100 days, so that means this is in-game day 100. It's also a Thursday critter day, so I spend some time consulting the wiki for April's new critters to make a game plan. I catch a hilarious conversation where Felicity tries to explain selfies to our dear old cranky Static. And then I agree to do CJ's stupid challenge, since I know I'll be doing quite a bit of fishing today anyway. I hang out at the river until I catch a snapping turtle, then switch to some sea fishing and even learn cooking recipes along the way. I dedicate a chunk of time to sea creature diving as well, and get some powerful words from Pascal about pancakes. I engage in the ritual of walking sopping wet in my wetsuit into Nook's Cranny to sell my unwanted sea creatures, and by the end of the night, the pile of new critter donations to give to Blathers is pretty impressive, I'd say. Also, Sly asks me to change his tiger's eye catchphrase, which, no. I gave you that catchphrase, and you love it. Speak no more of this, Sly. Day 101 is another Friendship Friday, so we do our best to find every single villager and check out how they're doing. And, of course, gift the ones who still need to give us their photo, which Eloise actually delights us by doing. I am thwarted in trying to catch a man-faced stink bug, which this is like the 3rd time this has happened at this point. And I stop by with Flick to sell bugs and get another commission underway. I find Wisp again while looping the island, which is always an exciting find. And the final villager of the night, Bo, actually finds us and teaches us a new reaction. We end the evening with a good old stretching session with our friends. After this week, I gave myself a little spring break. By which I mean it was extremely cold in my house, and I just kind of wanted to play my Switch in handheld mode under the covers for a while. I gave myself a break from recording with the capture card and from the schedule and time limits, just to kind of play in a more unplugged and cozy way. I had knocked out over 100 hours of gameplay in just 2 weeks of real time at this point of the challenge, and it was a welcome and necessary reset for my brain. But I can share the highlights with you in the form of screenshots and 30-second clips of my spring break. I completed the spring fishing tournament, and joyful moments were had by all. I was legitimately jump scared by the plodding paws and unexpected appearance of this giant bug-eyed bunny. I had some fun wearing this froggy hat and decorating for Bunny Day. The frog hat honestly goes so hard in swimming for sea creatures. I spent a lot of time clam digging and seashell collecting and reevaluating the placement of my trees. I gave Felicity a new catchphrase, and on sunny days I enjoyed catching bugs and tree management. At work, Leaf gave a guest lecture on hybrid flowers, and I made a dreamy paradise for Megan. I built an incline and took leisurely evening strolls. I also got to enjoy listening in while no-nonsense Cat tried to empower delicate Eloise to kill the bugs in her house. Overall, a restful and restorative time where I could really reset in how I thought about the island and get excited all over again to keep on chasing this insane and wonderful challenge I've made for myself. At the conclusion of my spring break, it's Sunday, April 20th, day 110 of the challenge, and it's Bunny Day, y'all. I spent a lot of my spring break grinding for the various egg types that Zipper requires, so I am absolutely ready. And can we stop for a second to appreciate these Bunny Day outfits? I never really crafted them for myself before now because I thought they looked goofy, but seeing the villagers wear them is actually too cute. It's just too cute. I'm also aware that the community has some pretty passionate opinions on the nightmare fodder that is Zipper, but I think the game is self-aware. They know he's a freak. He's a freak by design, and I'm here for it. I already have all the eggs I need to get my first prize from Zipper, a delightful Bunny Day basket to add to my plaza already filled with Bunny Day decorations. I can also show you all now some of the island reorganization that I did on my spring break. One of my most involved projects was to chop down and move around some trees in a way that makes them fully visible on my island loops. I still have several Nook Miles achievements related to accessing the island trees, like catching 5 wasps in a row, shaking for furniture items, and harvesting wood. There's also a lot of bugs that spawn on the trees starting now through the summer months, so having my trees easy to see and maneuver gives me peace of mind in chasing those tasks. I also added some enclosed spaces just for breeding some specific flowers that I want, and established a sprawling space for a flower field with all my hybrids and a pathway leading to Red's Beach on the back of the island. I now have this open second-tier cliff area that I'm going to have to figure out what to do with next. And I've added some stumps all in one place to make it easy to check for stump spawning bugs. I really love the simplicity and natural beauty of this walkway, as well as the utility of being able to access all of my island's trees easily for achievements. I also did some slight waterscaping and shifted my money tree farm so that my pathway connects cleanly to an additional Zen bridge that I built to connect the orchard and agricultural region of our island. I pick up some turnips from Daisy May, and then I have to do a lot of tedious dialogue to trade with Zipper and get some more water eggs, the one egg type I had a hard time getting plenty of. Once I get enough of those, I craft the rest of this insane man's recipes so that I can earn the final recipe, a Zipper wobble toy, and be crowned the Queen of Bunny Day. Or whatever. I did it. I did Bunny Day. What a trip. On day 111, I start by unceremoniously tearing down all of the Bunny Day decorations because it's back to business as usual now. I have to entertain Felicity's request for a home visit, and then it's time for Monday errands. Captain's boat tour brings us to a super cool Money Tree Island, and then I pay a visit to all the usual suspects on Harv's Island. At my HHP visit, I create a sewing and design space for Francine that I'm really quite proud of. As a seamstress myself, this vibe was near and dear to my heart. Day 112 is another Tuesday plant day. I'm really pleased with the layout of my tree path on the island now. This wooded walkway is where all of my regular trees are located. Every other tree on the island that's placed purely for decorative purposes has been replaced with an orange tree, because fruit trees don't ever give you wasps or furniture, so I don't have to worry about checking those, or making them super accessible. This setup makes it a lot faster to check all the trees. I spent the bulk of my time today shaking every single tree to check for furniture, but more importantly, I'm trying to catch 5 wasps in a row without getting stung. This is one of the hidden Nook Mile achievements, and I'm pretty sure I got it on my first island without knowing about it or trying very hard for it. But for some reason I've just been really bad at it this go-round, and I keep getting stung by wasps. I make it all the way to the end of my route into the rock garden trees, which admittedly aren't as accessible as the rest of the path, so I don't normally check them unless I have to. I'm nervous because I have caught 4 wasps and I'm just 1 away from the achievement, but catching wasps in these tight corners can be tricky. I fumbled this achievement multiple times off camera on my spring break, but miraculously, on the very last tree of the day, I catch wasp number 5 and get the netting better achievement. Now that the wasps are cleared, I circle back through the path to harvest wood from all the trees. The rough-hewn achievement requires you to chop a whole bunch of wood, and because I've been using most of my Treasure Island visits for materials, I haven't necessarily been dedicating too much time to that. So I know I have to set aside specific times to work towards that. Next, I harvest the crop fields and end up closing out the Executive Producer Nook Mile achievement as well. I also dig up a gyroid along the way that completes my gyroid getter achievement. For those of you counting at home, this means I have 6 bonus Treasure Island trips on reserve, plus my April base visit. I close out the day by catching 3 sea creatures just for the Nook Plus points since I have extra time, and even in that small window I end up catching 2 brand new creatures and moving forward another milestone for the Underwater Understudy achievement. Day 113 is a rainy Wednesday, but that won't stop us from our decorating focus. We're wearing the green raincoat that Eloise gifted us a while back, and I think it's really cute that she remembers it and comments on it. Today I finally make a transparent custom design code, something I've been meaning to do for a while to help me control flowers from spreading. Today I really want to clean up the flowers that have been overtaking my tree path and use custom codes to keep them from overgrowing again. I toss all of the non-hybrids and replant all of the hybrids in the flower field at the back of the island. Next, I need to figure out what to do with this wide open cliff space. I try starting with a path, but I end up hating it and starting over. Then I try working from the back of the cliff first, putting up some fencing to overlook the flower field below, but that's as far as I get because that doesn't really inspire me either. Finally, I decide to just create a cute centerpiece that will come into view as you climb up the incline, and hopefully from there I can get inspired for some pathing and how the traffic will flow. Just a mix of greenery and seating to add a pop of visual interest. For my final project with the time I have left, I lay down some dirt pathing to set aside sections that will eventually be used for a giant crop field. I've counted up the number of crops remaining to complete my Sprout Out Loud achievement, and I'm just going to go ahead and knock that out and get them all planted as soon as possible. I'm creating alternate dirt code sections of 6 tiles, since groups of 6 is the fastest and easiest way to water one patch of crops at a time. There's no time for all that now, of course. I'm just laying the groundwork, and then it's on to time travel to the next day. Day 114 is another critter catching Thursday, and I once again have a specific game plan in mind. I chat briefly with Flick and almost commission a wasp model when I definitely just want to add another butterfly model to my collection, but after that it's all about fishing. I clear out all the fish bait I have available and head to the pier. I'm using the fish bait specifically to try and spawn huge shadows, so that I can hopefully catch the tuna, which leaves at the end of April. I get endlessly disappointed by olive flounders, and of course sea bass, and while I don't catch the tuna, I do hook an oarfish, which is always shocking and exciting. Look at that weird thing. Day 115 is a Friendship Friday, and we're keeping it very casual and chill today. I catch Peanut taking a sneaky Friday afternoon nap. We've all been there, girl. I'm also proud to catch several of the villagers enjoying the sunshine in our expanded plaza. Cat gifts me one of my favorite wallpapers, and Bo is impressed he can actually feed himself. Been there too, honestly. I catch a dab for Felicity because I'm just a good friend like that, and I support Sly in his decision to leave the island. I've enjoyed him as a villager so much more than I ever would have thought, but if he thinks it's his time to move on, I'm willing to let him go. I catch Eloise while she's doing some shopping, and when I do some shopping of my own at Abel's, I hit an exciting milestone and complete the Bell Ringer Nook Mile achievement category. I've taken care of my friendship duties pretty quickly today, and I've got so many Treasure Island trips in reserve that I decide to treat myself and take multiple trips to stock up on goodies. I spend one trip on an entire pocket full of fish bait, another trip on Nova items for a future decorating project, and a third trip getting some miscellaneous furnitures to pad out my catalog. This uses up our April visit and 2 bonus visits, which means there's still 5 bonus trips banked. We're only a quarter way into the challenge at this point, so it's hard to say what the future holds. But so far I feel more than comfortable in tackling my goals, and I'm almost worried I've made the challenge too easy in terms of Treasure Island access. But we'll just have to see how it all pans out. There's a lot more to go. Day 116 brings a rainy Saturday evening. Firstly, we have to bid farewell to our beloved villager Sly, and then we pick up the latest Nook Shopping seasonal offerings, closing out yet another Nook milestone achievement, with the category Shop to It. Next I head to the plaza and request one of KK Slider's secret songs for the Saturday concert, and then fine, I will use my interior decorating day to actually interior decorate. I change up the walls and flooring of my main room, and it's subtle, but I appreciate the brightness this color change brings to the space. Then I renovate my vaguely outdoorsy basement into an indoor-outdoor park space, because I wanted to do something a little different. I clear out my bedroom build and decide to build a Bunny Day themed room, because after all, I worked so hard crafting all of these furnitures for Zipper's lofty challenge, so I may as well put them to use. It's not a Nook Mile achievement, but I would like to earn all of the HHA trophies. And I know they just love when things match, so hopefully this weird room will impress them. Then I relocate my bedroom upstairs, giving myself a spacious suite using earth tones and pink accents. I don't know if it matches enough to meet HHA standards, but I personally like this color palette. Day 117 is what has become my favorite day of the week, Wildcard Sunday. And HHA sends me the silver trophy for my decorating improvements. I guess they like the Bunny Day room. First today we have to stop by and visit our girl Kat on her birthday, partake in the customary birthday dance, and give her a present. Then I bask in the hilarity of listening to Eunice and Eloise discuss fashion whilst I am actively and proudly dressed like a baby chicken. I invest in the turnip market again, even though it gives me just a touch of anxiety, and then I prepare for a villager hunt to replace the plot left empty by Sly's departure. I am tempted by Benedict on the first ticket, but if I'm gonna have a chicken, I think there are better chickens out there. I'm also delighted to see Pashmina because she's an all-time favorite, but I literally just had her on my Capricorn-themed island, so we bid her farewell. My third ticket brings me to Eugene, who nope. And because it's a wildcard day, I expand my 3-ticket limit to keep searching until I find someone I really like. I find Callie on ticket number 4, but Lord knows I've got enough squirrels already. And on ticket number 5, I find Olive, and I absolutely fall in love. She's so sweet, so vintage, so perfect. She's coming to Honeycake. After that, I take advantage of all the fish bait I pilfered from a treasure island and try once again to fish for the pier exclusive fish, finally catching the elusive tuna. Man, that's a big fish. I start on some pathing to direct the flow of traffic around the centerpiece on my cliff level. Then I collect some seashells and drop off donations to Blathers. After getting fooled again with some artwork a villager sent me, I decide to put all of the fraudulent art on display in front of Red's Beach so I don't accidentally try and donate them again. A fresh week begins with day 118, time again for our Monday errand day. First I pay a visit to welcome Olive to the island, then tend to helping out the lost bird on our beach. I take another tour with Captain that lands us a vine and moss island, and our first Nook milestone for set sail for adventure. I make my weekly trip to Harv's to get disappointed by the fake art Red has on offer, and sell some weeds to Leaf. I check on my progress towards the Greedy Weeder achievement, and man, that's a whole lot of weeds I still need to get. I move along to Happy Home Paradise, where my client Wade demands that I build him this weird clock house. And we throw a little party to celebrate the completion of my 10th vacation home design. Day 119 is another plants-focused day, but I do agree to take on CJ's challenge since my storage is literally bursting at the seams from all of the fish I caught whilst grinding to catch those pesky pier-exclusive fish. Then I tend to the flower pens, where I'm working on trying to breed some purple hyacinths, purple mums, and purple windflowers. The majority of my time is spent on the huge crop field I've got planned out. I use up all the starts I've got in storage, and then start using the crops themselves to fill in all the sections. I hit a milestone towards the achievement before running out of time for the day. Day 120 is the last day of April, and it's a Wednesday, which means I need to choose a new decorating project. During my daily stops, I check the turnip prices, and when I check out Olive's fully decorated house, she compliments me on my custom design outfit. Thanks, girl. I got it on Pinterest. My decorating project for the day is to liven things up along this main road by incorporating more colorful flowers and some new shrubs. I run past this stretch of land every day from my house to check out the shops, so having something pretty to look at will be a nice improvement. I also spice up the space across the river with some custom cones and flowers as well, and plant some trees and more shrubs and flowers on the terraformed level. I get a milestone for tomorrow's trees today, and I think this will look nice when everything grows in. On the other side of the river behind resident services, I'm working towards transforming this area into a marketplace. So I reimagined the lemonade stand and the honey vendor ideas for my early market build. I'm not sure how this will look from the other side of the bridge or if it's what I want to keep forever. And even while building, I've already got a few ideas for how I might change it a bit in the future. But sometimes you've just got to get things down and see how they look before you can start experimenting and tweaking until you land on the look that you want. Day 121 heralds the beginning of May, which means a whole new batch of critters are available for Critter Hunting Thursday. My plan for today was to catch some bugs in the sunshine in my cute outfit, but the clouds had other plans. Undeterred, I head straight for my usual path to see what bugs I can hunt along the way, earning a few newbies to the Critterpedia and seeing my stump farm get put to use. That earns us a milestone for Bugs Don't Bug Me. The villagers are pretty entertaining today as well. Eunice invites us over for a little visit. Peanut is wearing the jester outfit another villager gave her, and it's completely hilarious. And Eloise appears to be trying to sniff this tulip, and I don't have the heart to tell her it's fake. I dedicate some time to fishing as well, and I've got another impressive stack of new donations, and it's only the first day of the new month. I also circle back to catch an additional frog from the pond because they are so cute, and now he lives in my house with me. Hope the cat doesn't eat him. Day 122 is another Friendship Friday, time to check in with everybody. I also see that things are starting to bloom for my most recent landscaping, and it's really a lovely sight. I stopped by the museum to get fossils assessed to give away as gifts, and when one of them turns out to be something I can actually donate, I learned that it was the last fossil I needed to complete the museum collection. This is a truly exciting moment for the challenge, and now I can gift all my deserving villagers with the remaining fossils. With the extra time I have, I order a new butterfly model from our friend Flick, and catch a few sea creatures until we get a visit from our friend Pascal. For day 123, it's Saturday, so I head straight to the plaza to take in the KK Slider concert. Then it's straight to Happy Home Paradise for my interior decorating, and I'm pulling a mega shift this evening. I can't resist taking on our old friend Octavian as a client and building him an underwater hideout, because I miss the guy. I kinda wish he was still on the island. I get a promotion from Lottie and take that energy to move straight onto another client, building a cozy little farm for Boots. Finally, I rehab another facility and whip up a quick and simple cafe design that I name Bean before the clock runs out on another day. On day 124, it's the start of a new week, and I've got a special plan in mind. We're calling it Night Week, and I'll be logging in every day after 8 p.m. to try and catch as many Wisp and Celeste visits as possible, since I haven't seen them much so far. Sadly, I don't find either one tonight. Since it's a wildcard Sunday, I'm taking advantage of the special Mayday event where Tom Nook sends you to a special maze island. Not that he's, sadistic or anything. I assumed that I would do other things today too, but no, this maze took me the full time limit to complete. I've definitely finished it before, but I guess that was a while ago, and it took me some time to figure it all out until I finally successfully make it to the end, earning Rover's suitcase and lots of Bell vouchers. You can do this maze again and get Rover's photo, but I'm good. This was fun, but I'm good. Day 125 is another Monday, and I understand that my outfit looks insane, but look, I was going for like a pajama thing, a sleepy baby vibe. Because, it's night week. While taking care of my usual dailies, I think it's funny that Nook's Cranny has appropriately stocked the cold sleep pod for Night Week. And I have to bring medicine to a sick Olive. Man, she just moved here. Red is also on the island tonight, and when I head to his beach I run into Celeste, so Night Week is already paying off. Then it's off to Harv's Island for my weekly errands. And I stop at HHP just to pick up the DIY and check the company store, because I just completed a lot of builds already on Saturday. Instead of vacation homes, I decide to build a colorful stargazing area using the celestial items I got from one of the bonus Treasure Island visits. I figure if I'm going to fully enjoy Night Week, I may as well tackle this build that I've had in my head for a while. I've also got to include a little space for star charting and celestial research, and hopefully the next time Celeste visits, she'll be able to hang out here and check it all out. And tell me she loves me. Day 126 is a Tuesday plant day, and Night Week continues with more pajama looks. I spot Bo with a thought bubble, and he wants me to make a delivery to patch things up between him and Static. Big props to Bo here for giving him this rainbow sweater because it looks so much better than Static's default outfit. I head to the flower field to check on our hybrids, and I finally manage to catch my nemesis, the man-faced stink bug. I water the flowers I most hope to clone, and water the flower breeding pens, which have yet to produce any of what I want. Next, I tackle once again my giant crop field project. I fill in all the spaces I didn't have time to get to last week, and after I water the new starts, I see that I'm still 27 crops short of my Nook Mile achievement. I dig up some more spots and plant some more crops, but it's still not quite enough. I pick up a lost item that I find and head back into town. Since Sly is long gone, I take down the boxing ring from his yard and plant the rest of the crops I need for the achievement in Olive's yard. She and Peanut can be gardening besties, and I think that's great for them. With that, we close out another Nook Mile achievement category and earn another Treasure Island trip. I find the owner of the lost item because I want to complete as many villager quests as possible for the Smile Isle achievement, and then I set my sights on another plant-related achievement, Pick of the Bunch. It's clear that I still have a lot of fruit to harvest and sell for this achievement, so I make a mental note to harvest fruit more often, and that I will definitely need to create a much bigger orchard if I want to knock this out by the end of the challenge. For my final project, I dig up the crops I have in this small build here. My agricultural research space plans have obviously shifted, and I now have more crops available than I could ever need, so I think I can repurpose this space into something new. Sadly, I don't get any visit from Wisp tonight, but at least I catch a Flea on Sparrow, which is a great small step to yet another eventual Nook achievement. Now it's day 127 and it's a Wednesday again. Even though it's Night Week, I plan to stick to my normal routine of daily priorities. And this is a weird mental block I have to overcome because Wednesdays are for island decorating, and I'm so used to time traveling to daylight hours for decorating. I just find it hard to decorate at night. But I'm sticking to my guns, and for today's project, I want to work on this center area that I'm hoping to turn into a market. I'm not really happy with the way these stalls look by the bridge, so we're going to try something different. I relocate the build to the other side of the road, and I already like it so much better here. For the area by the bridge, I want to put up a little terraforming to match the other side and kind of frame this transition from the town center to the market street. I try out a few more items back here. I really want a kind of cluttered and dynamic market area with lots of stalls eventually. But I'm just putting a few things down for now, and maybe when I see it again next week in the daylight, I'll get a little more inspiration. I also return to this build on the cliff. Now that the crops are gone, I clean up all the agriculture items to move to the new crop area. I lay down some pathing to give it a cleaner look and fill in the gaps between crops with our decorative items. Is it a gorgeous, perfect build? Not really. But it gives the space purpose and structure, and I personally am a fan of the vibes. Day 128 is a Thursday, and evening critter catching is actually something I've been meaning to prioritize. There are some late-day fish I need to catch in the pond, like the catfish and the koi. And I break a fishing pole along the way, which earns us another milestone for trash tools. Next, I move on to the river to catch new fish there, and I run all around the rest of the island looking for a nighttime visitor, but there's no Wisp or Celeste in sight. I do find Gulliver on the beach and help him out, and then I take to the water to hunt for sea creatures. Swimming in the ocean at night is equal parts creepy and peaceful, I feel. I managed to catch the tricky vampire squid at last, and I have another run-in with Pascal. I've got another huge stack of donations to give to Blathers for the museum, and I hit up the Roost for a late-night pick-me-up. There's just something that hits different about night coffee. So delicious, so mischievous. Day 129 is the Friendship Friday of Night Week, and I'm thrilled to have an excuse to wear my Dodo Airlines eye mask. I literally don't care that it doesn't match the rest of the outfit. Felicity is doing some night fishing, which is adorable, but annoying because it means I can't give her a present. Eloise gives me a lesson in manners that I definitely didn't ask for, so ironically, rude. And Static gives me some cute wallpaper. Sparrow and Cat are having a hangout session together, and I'm finally close enough friends with Olive to start giving her gifts. I run into Julia, Eunice, and Peanut moseying around town, and after I order another bug model from Flick, I find Wisp visiting at long last. While completing his quest, I finally find my 10th villager, Bo, who comments very insightfully that it's dark out. We love Bo and his 2 brain cells, y'all. There's still plenty of time to spare even after finishing collecting all of Wisp's spirit pieces, so I repurpose our former crop fields into a star farm to match our stargazing spot. I get some more night coffee and earn another reward from Brewster, and squeeze in a boat tour with Captain, since I didn't have time to take one earlier this week. Day 130 is the last day of Night Week, and we're ditching the pajamas for a fun party dress for KK Slider's concert. I've been getting extremely jealous of the light sticks all my villagers have at the concert, so this week I make sure to pick one up from Nook's Cranny before the show. Even though it's just Olive and I here tonight, we're still gonna rock out. I also hit a milestone in the KK Mania achievement category. After the show, I head to Harv's Island to pick up an extra piece of art from Red, since he was actually on my island during my usual Harv's Island day. And then go to work, where Lottie thankfully doesn't comment that I show up in my party clothes. For tonight's clients, we take on Pico, who wanted a private Zen resort, and then Naomi, who specifically requested, and I quote, a sad cafe to look at sad art. She's a weirdo, and I kind of respect her more for it. Day 131 starts a fresh week. I'm relieved to be back in the sunlight, and I have truly picked out the cutest little outfit for Wildcard Sunday. We've got a campsite villager today, and it's cool guy Kyle. I've been without a smug villager ever since Henry left, so I try inviting him to the island. I've had such bad luck with these games so far that I'm actually surprised that we win, and I'm even more surprised that he asks to replace a villager that I don't mind letting go of. I'm just not vibing with Eloise anymore, and we've still got Julia as our snooty villager, so it looks like Kyle is coming to the island. A wildcard, baby. Next, I buy some turnips for the first time in a while. I've been trigger shy ever since I let the last ones rot, and do miscellaneous things like watering my flower pens and giving out a few gifts to villagers that still haven't given me a photo. Static looks so stunning in that rainbow sweater, man. I just love it. I craft a whole bunch of tools to have on hand for the future, feeling newly grateful that we'll be getting bulk crafting in the January update. And it earns me another milestone in the DIY tools category. There are still so many tools to craft eventually, though. I spend the rest of the day shaking trees so that I can clear out the wasps and chop a bunch of wood. I find this to be one of the more tedious and less relaxing tasks in the game, hence why I grabbed a lot of crafting materials with my Treasure Island trips. But it's an achievement, so I'm trying to remember to just lock in and knock it out in waves so that I don't end up stuck with nothing but wood chopping standing in the way of 100%ing the game. Day 132 is another Monday, and even the rain and my busted umbrella won't stop me from tackling a full and busy day of errands. I definitely didn't realize Eloise would move out so quickly, so I was bummed we didn't get to say goodbye, but at least we got her photo. My bugs have been stacking up in storage, so I make some quick deals with Flick, and then take care of a sick Bo before I can head out on my usual route of errands. Red, sadly, only has fake art to sell, but Sahara has some cool offerings like the candle wall. I do another round of customizing with Cyrus too. I don't have some tight color palette that I need to stick to or anything, But I try to be forward-thinking and customize a bunch of things every so often so that I don't find myself excessively needing to make trips here when I get deeper into decorating projects. It's all about streamlining as the in-game days fly by. At Happy Home Paradise, Wardell is finally offering his ordering services, so I choose Caesar as my client for the day because he wants a home with lots of construction items, and I'd like to be able to order some of these in the future. After I give Nico some more DIY advice, I clock out and take another captain tour to finish out Monday errand day. Day 133 is Tuesday, our day for plants. I'm realizing how much I love the variation from day to day with different focal points. It really feels like touching base with all different aspects of island life. I greet the newest villager, Kyle, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he gels with the island. I still really love the yard I built here for Eloise, and I think it will still work for him too. But I guess we should remove her photo. Man, I really hope this bag left in the yard wasn't hers. Sorry to kick you out in such a hurry, girl. Luckily, the bag belongs to Julia, so we can get that squared away and tick off another incremental step in the Smile Isle achievement. Smile Isle involves completing quests for villagers, and there's no way to really force those opportunities to emerge. So any chance I get to care for my residents, I've got to take it, regardless of that day's focal point. I also have to remind myself to check the turnip prices, which I forgot yesterday. I get a pretty big moment while tending to my hybrid pens, as I have now officially watered 1,000 flowers, and closed out the flower tender achievement category. I dig up the yellow mums that have started taking over my yard, and relocate some of those to a pen to hopefully spawn some green mums. If you don't know, only special hybrid yellows can breed greens. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Next, I harvest some fruit for the ever-daunting Pick of the Bunch achievement, and then I move on to my main project for today, which is building another orchard. I saw a setup that I really liked on Pinterest, so I used some custom codes to try and figure out where I should end up placing my trees. Once I land on a template that I like, I plant another long row of cherry trees and another long row of pear trees. By the time I finish and head to Nook's Cranny to sell my fruit, the time has changed afternoon and the sell price of turnips has risen, so I go ahead and sell. And I take care of Gullivar before I end the day. For day 134, it's another day for focusing on decorating. I say hey to Kyle, and it seems like he already loves it here, so that makes me happy. There's an area of my island that I still don't really know what to do with. So while it's still vacant, I've decided to clear the gyroid fragments out of my storage and make a gyroid farm. Not very aesthetic, but this is just a placeholder. My main decorating project is to continue working on making my marketplace area work. Making a market was one of my first decorative builds on the island, and I like the idea of bringing that back bigger and better than before. But I am still feeling indecisive about how it will look. I used some custom codes to make a little worn path where the patrons have traveled from vendor to vendor, and in particular, I really want to add a book stall to the mix. I end up deciding to move my money tree farm once again because I think I'd like a little more space for the market to extend all the way down the path to the bridge. Lastly, I used today to make another Treasure Island run, since I have one for May and 8 bonuses banked at this point. I pick up miscellaneous supplies, but mostly gold nuggets, because I really need money to purchase another storage upgrade, and at this point that's no cheap thing. Day 135 is the halfway mark of May, and when I woke up I hopped straight into my wetsuit because we are all about sea creatures today. Static asks us to leave, and I think it's the right thing for him, although I do need to make sure to find another cranky to replace him. I'm committed to spending as much time today in the water as I can. I'm over 100 sea creatures away from my next deep dive Nook milestone, so I really just want to see how many I can catch. By the time the day is done, I've got an appearance from Pascal, made a good chunk of change selling creatures to Nook's Cranny, managed to catch the elusive Gygus clam, and caught a total of 66 sea creatures. Now it's day 136, and it's Friendship Friday again. Time to say hey to all the cuties. And oop, I died. I have to bid farewell to Static, and search for ages until I finally find Kyle in the very empty art exhibit of the museum. I see some shooting stars, but sadly there's no Celeste. I make a visit to the Roost, and bring out the whole gang for some group stretching. Even Sable joins us tonight, which is always a treat. Day 137 is another lovely Saturday, but the plaza is strangely empty. I bring some medicine to Felicity so that she can hopefully recover in time to check out the KK concert, but by the time the show starts, it's just me and Peanut. I am actually going to tend to some interior decorating for the first time in a while, but it's honestly just so that I can flip around this furniture piece that I didn't realize was backwards, since HHA sent me a fussy little note about it on my last evaluation. The real priority today is finding a replacement for the now vacated static, so it's time for villager hunting. The first ticket brings us to Rolf, who is in fact a cranky, but I'm sorry, he's just not the one for me. I do make an effort to at least chop a handful of trees while I'm here because that's always a lingering goal. The next island is Ribot, who's a pass, but we'll chop some more trees. The third and final ticket of the hunt is Filbert, and I simply can't go squirrel again. I really want to make sure that I get a cranky, so I can't trust this to go to autofill. I use a bonus treasure island visit to order a villager, and I decide to go for Butch, since he turned us down as a campsite villager so long ago. Day 138 is a Sunday, and we're going full wildcard, starting the day after 8 p.m. and rocking the silicone tee with bib. Very weird shirt. I'm still working on getting Kyle's friendship to the level of gifting, and of course we have to welcome in our new cranky boy Butch. I've never had him before, but I think I might love him. Grizzly is our campsite villager because of course we would get another cute cranky after I literally just recruited Butch. I pick up a lost book, and I'm extremely excited to actually get a wisp visit. After I help out my favorite ghost, I search everywhere for Sparrow to return his lost item. He wasn't at home or in town, but I was planning to do the museum stamp rally for Wildcard Day, so hopefully we can run into him there. If you don't know, this is a special event available in May, and I really like that the game builds in a reason for you to spend some time enjoying your museum. I've been doing everything on go 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 mode, so this is the first time I've really been able to take in all of the exhibits, and it's really encouraging to see just how many specimens we've collected so far, including our fully complete fossil section. I earned all of the stamp rally rewards, but sadly I never did find Sparrow. I obviously have to stop by the roost while I'm here too, and I get another roost milestone. I forced the community to come out and stretch in the evening rain, at last landing us another stretch to refresh milestone as well. Day 139 arrives, and in the mail I get a yoga mat from Nook Inc. for our group stretching, and some interesting feedback from HHA. It seems like they're complimenting my Bunny Day themed room, but I also feel like they're mocking me. I chat with Kyle because he's hanging out in my yard trying to steal my oranges, and I run into Sparrow, so now I can return his training notebook. Stay swole, my boy. I pick up some seasonal cheese and decide to skip Harv's Island today since Red is visiting the island. I head to work and design a cookout-themed vacation home for Patty. It's the least I can do after turning her down on 2 villager hunts. Then it's time for another boat tour with Captain. Day 140 is time to get back to the plants. We get a visit from Sahara and another invitation to Eunice's house. And I'm really excited to run into Cutie Butch at Nook's Cranny. I'm glad he's settling in nicely. But now we grind. We are shaking those trees, we are chopping some wood, we clean up our hybrid pins, and of course we need to harvest a whole bunch of fruit. My new mega orchard has fully grown in, and the plan is to strategically place flowers on either side of the trees, so that when I shake the fruit, now everything should fall in a straight line that I can collect much faster. I take in today's haul to sell to Timmy and Tommy, and it looks like we've made some progress towards pick of the bunch, but still a long way to go. In this last week of May, I start thinking about where I'm at in terms of time management and goal management. I take inventory of the closest Nook milestones that are next on the horizon, and start thinking about which ones I think I can tackle by the end of June, the halfway point of the challenge. Day 141 is supposed to be my Wednesday decorating day, but I'm feeling a little stagnated with build inspiration, so I've got a different approach. I start the day after 8 p.m. in hopes of seeing Wisp or Celeste, but to no avail. Then I just go on a DIY crafting spree. I put a stack of miscellaneous crafting materials in my pockets and just see what's craftable. I've acquired so many recipes at this point, I haven't really even taken inventory of what I have available. And I feel like just taking the time to do a lot at once will give me more items to work with and more inspiration for future decorating. I also knock out some customizing as well because it can all be in service of steady progress towards the DIY furniture achievement and the furniture freshener achievement. This also seems as good a time as any to craft a pitfall seed, plant it, and take a little tumble. Then we scoop up those singular Nook achievements. Heck of a night. Day 142, we're back on our critter hunting for Thursday. In town, I get some new varieties of shrubs from Leaf, get the latest seasonal offerings from Nook Shopping, and investigated Sparrow's thought bubble. He had a burning desire to buy a vampire's costume off of me, and I couldn't say no to the guy. He's clearly, going through a thing. There's no rush to catch any specific creatures leaving by the end of the month, so I dabble in a little bit of everything. I catch some sea creatures and bask in the wisdom of Pascal, refuel at the Roost and run into Tom Nook, then spend more time on the pier until I catch the giant trevally and dig for fossils. Day 143 is Friendship Friday again, and in addition to my usual routine of speaking to every villager and gifting the ones who need to give me a photo, I've got something special for tonight planned as well. You might even have a guess based on my attire for the evening. I also feel guilty for ignoring Dear Label on a day dedicated to friendship, but if you haven't already noticed, I've been ignoring her this entire challenge. Maybe in the second half of the challenge, my dear. Once I talk to every villager, I'm off to Harv's Island to run a few errands since I didn't make it on Monday, and my art purchase from Red completes another Nook Mile achievement category, Patron of the Arts. Now it's time for the big event. I'm using Harv's Phototopia for the first time because it's prom night. I originally thought I might decorate the plaza in prom theme for May, but since I never really found the time for that, I figured I could still make sure my villagers have a prom night to remember. Look at them all. They're so cute. I love them all so much. On day 144, I wake up, still in my prom dress, to a phone call from Harvey offering to sell me posters for using Phototopia. I pull myself together and get dressed for the new day, heading to the plaza to request another secret song from KK Slider. And look who's here to jam with me. It's my prom date Sparrow. Adorable. Also, can I just say I gifted Butch this special door plate yesterday, and I'm so happy to see it on display. I do want to do some decorating in my house, but it's hard because I'm honestly pretty happy with all the rooms. I like my house the way it is. But I do still need that gold trophy from HHA. I try adding a few more touches to my bedroom suite, some more pink accents and splashes of plant life, and some lighting to make it feel a little more lived in. I also figure that I've acquired and crafted a lot more furniture since I originally built my kitchen. So I go in and try to swap out some furniture items that are a little more cohesive in style and color. And eventually I get really excited for how much better it's looking. It's funny because I was absolutely fine with my kitchen before, but I think the transformation here makes it look much homier and more sophisticated. I love my new kitchen. It'll be great for cooking, and at the moment, it's a great place to hide from Felicity when she barges into my house. Sorry, girl, I can't today. Sorry. Day 145 is our favorite, another Wildcard Sunday. I decided to wear the fast food uniform in honor of my newly renovated kitchen. HHA is not impressed with my decorating antics, though. There's no new reward in the mail, and I feel like they really are up to their cheeky shading nonsense with this latest message. They're mocking me, right? As you know, I can do whatever I want today, so I give out some presents, redeem some Nook Miles, and buy an extravagantly expensive briefcase. I mostly let the Nook Miles Plus task guide my activities today. I don't necessarily focus on those on a daily basis unless it aligns with something I'm already doing. But there is indeed an achievement for completing a certain number of Nook Miles tasks overall. I managed to finally hit the next milestone for DIY furnitures, and it seems thematically appropriate to spend some time cooking in my new kitchen as well, earning the next milestone for miles. I'm wildcard killing it today. Day 146 is the last Monday of May, and we are dressed and pressed and ready for our weekly errands. After a quick moment to appreciate Olive being cute and casual in her yard, I take my usual boat tour, and at Harv's Island I end up pretty disappointed since Red doesn't have any new art for me, and Sahara is actually back at my island. Not a lot to do here today. I get some adorable staff development at HHP so I can build island counters, and our old friend Chester needs a roommate. So we invite Faith to move in and revamp his bamboo paradise. I have enough time to squeeze in another client today, so I make a cozy mod home for Kit in her signature red color. and I end my shift for the day taking a break with Wardell and marinating in the sounds of nature. Day 147 is another rainy Tuesday plants day. There's really nothing more satisfying to me than running down my town's main road with a cute raincoat and umbrella. In town gossip news, our newest villagers Kyle and Olive are hanging out. The number one plant priority of the day is harvesting fruit. And I realize I can also go ahead and harvest some wood from the fruit trees as well without having to worry about wasps. Even though I feel like my orchard is a touch crowded, I did grab a stack of apples on my last Treasure Island visit, and decide to introduce another fruit to the island and add another row of trees to the orchard. I plant some more flowers and shrubs on the edge of the cliff to bring a little more life to this second tier space, and add some trees that I plan to stunt to fill out this empty space on the Stargazing cliff, which does earn me another milestone towards tomorrow's trees today. I do touch base with Flick to order another bug model, and Eunice invites me to her house again and gives me a third copy of her photo. Bless this needy little sheep. Day 148, and it's Wednesday again. After I discover that poor sweet cranky angel puppy Butch is sick, I pop by Red's boat, and then I'm back to work on finishing my market street on the island. I add a plant shop to the lineup, an essential build for pretty much any Animal Crossing island really. I spend an absurd amount of time trying to fit in my latest bug model from Flick on top of this cliff. And once I finally got it to fit, I realized this was because this thing is friggin' huge. I knew this was one of the bigger ones, but man, it's even bigger than I remember. Day 149 is all about critters for Thursday. Also, I did it again. I forgot to come back with medicine for my sick villager. I'm a monster, Butch. Please accept this offering and forgive me. I get distracted by picking up seashells and popping a balloon and finding Gulliver and getting recruited by Felicity to deliver an apology gift to Eunice. But then, finally, we're all about the critters. I catch sea creatures until Pascal is summoned and gifts us a mermaid recipe. I dig up some fossils and refuse to give Bo a new catchphrase because I think Salt Lick is adorable. Then I spend the rest of the time I have fishing on the pier. Day 150 is the last Friendship Friday for the month of May, and my supposed friend Bo sends me a letter calling me old. Kyle gives us an unhelpful cooking recipe. Julia gives me a work shirt, so I think that's her way of calling me poor. And Eunice says she loves it how it looks like we're not trying with our outfit, so she's calling us sloppy. On Friendship Friday? Let's just hope they're all roasting with love. I find Peanut eyeing this wrestling singlet at Abel's shop, which I find weird and hilarious. And I rapidly realize I need to turn around and go back in the store and buy it for her. Stunning, iconic. I always love to see Sparrow and Cat hanging out. I think they make pretty adorable besties. The last three of my villagers are proving a little elusive tonight. But while I'm searching the island for them, I do have a run-in with Wisp, a friend we always love to see. I also remember to stunt the trees I planted earlier this week, which feels like a pretty big win because keeping track of time in a perpetually time-traveling challenge is a whole brain game of its own. I run into Felicity by the bridge and Olive having a smoothie on the beach, and I almost missed Bo hiding in some trees with his book. I also realize another task that I can take on for Friendship Fridays, which is sending postcards to villagers from the airport. This is not an especially fun or efficient thing to do because typing with the Joy-Cons is a little tedious. So I write them all the same incredibly brief message and collect my first milestone for Popular Pen Pal. Day 151 is the last day of May, and Kyle is in my yard again. I feel like Kyle is always in my yard. I find a missing journal on my way to the KK concert, so I make sure to get that back to its owner before the show. I check in, and it looks like we're 10 more quests away from a Smile Isle milestone, so that's encouraging. I request another secret song from KK, and tonight's show is me and some of my favorite girlies, and we are so cute. I love it. I also figure we might as well do a little stretch session while we're all here in the plaza. For interior decorating, I go to Happy Home Paradise, where I get my first request to contribute some DIY materials to Cutie Nico's crafting box. Our client tonight is Coach, and I give him a sporty space where he can review his training stats and plan his workouts. Day 152 is pretty exciting because it's June 1st, the start of summer, and by the end of this month, we'll be halfway through the challenge. There's lots of new exciting seasonal offerings to buy from Nook Shopping, and Butch even gives me a hula top to get my summer wardrobe started. I get a visit from Wisp and I catch some fireflies while I hunt for his spirit pieces. It's also the start of another seasonal event, so I travel to Harv's Island to help Reese and Cyrus with their anniversary photos. I do some shopping at the co-op while I'm here and catch a flight to HHP as well. Not to design, but to get the DIY bottle, check the store, and drop off some more materials for Nico to expedite the process of getting all pillar and counter recipes. I throw in a boat tour with Captain to end Wildcard Sunday. Day 153 is another Monday, and for my first errand, I'm going to use my June Treasure Island trip to visit a DIY island. I've been getting a little irritated lately with all the repeat DIYs I've been finding, and even the daily task of hunting them down can sometimes eat up a lot of time that I could be using for other things. I feel like if I at least load up on a pocket full of recipes, I won't be so stressed if I run out of time to get the DIYs every day on the island. Then I move on to my usual Monday errands, checking the new inventories at the co-op, and foolishly buying a painting I totally already have from Red. I also make the extra stop at Phototopia to help recreate the happy couple's wedding reception, and trade some heart crystals with Cyrus. Next, I go to work and design a talent agency for our old campsite villager Rosie, which lands us another promotion at work. We take our boat tour with Captain, and even though it's already been a very packed day, I've got to make time to help find Gullivar's communicator. Day 154 is a Tuesday Plants Day, and I steal some tomatoes from Peanut to give out as gifts while I search for the daily DIY. Look at our two normal girlies hanging out. I'm in love. Then it's time to harvest all the fruit, and I realize I need to add flowers next to our newly grown apple trees, so they drop their fruit in a nice straight line. I also decide to chop down the money trees. This area already has too much visual clutter, and I haven't had time to plant new money trees in a while anyway. We've got plenty of money in the bank for now. I've also got to move all the lilies of the valleys out of the way of the new apple trees, and I think they'll look nice as accents on the Stargazing cliff. An otherwise delightful day outside in nature is soured slightly when Red visits, bringing nothing but fake art to sell. Day 155 is another Wednesday, and another day with Kyle loitering in my yard. I allow myself to be distracted long enough to appreciate Olive and Peanut being cute in their yards, and then I get to work on decorating. My orchard is functional enough, and I do appreciate the increased fruit production. But visually, it is a little busy, and I don't love that. So I adjust the pathing a little bit and try to tie it in with the crop field. I don't tackle any specific project today. I just give myself the freedom to mosey around the island and add little touches as they come to me. I'm loving the way these flowers look on the cliff now that they've grown in. I've also grown attached to adding these button custom codes as a unique decorative touch. Finally, I give Butch a scooter to work on in his yard to match his gas station house theme, because I'm growing really attached to him and I want his yard to have some character. Day 156 is one I've really been looking forward to, the first critter hunting day of a new month. I even do some stretching with the villagers to get warmed up and ready. There's just something about consulting the wiki to learn about the different availabilities and quirks of all the critters, and planning out how and when to catch them all that scratches an itch in my brain. The satisfaction of filling out my Critterpedia has easily been one of the most enjoyable parts of this playthrough. I do have to avert a quick little crisis when my boy tries leaving the island, and then I take a very slow and careful walk through the trees to look for bugs on the tree trunks. I don't have any luck there, but I do decide to plant more coconut trees on my beaches to increase spawn opportunities, and the added bonus of providing more fruit to sell. I managed to catch a mosquito, the sworn enemy of summer, and then I switch gears to focus on catching some of the new June fish. I get a very respectable haul and even successfully complete the Castmaster Nook Mile achievement, meaning I've caught 100 fish in a row without letting any escape. This high was immediately followed by a crushing low, though, when I spotted a shadow that had to be the huge, elusive Arapaima and let it get away. I was literally that close to blowing that huge streak. I hand over my newest critters to the museum, and when I head home for the night, it's so obvious that Kat followed me here because she wanted to get her paws on some of those sweet, sweet fishies she saw me catch. I hope she'll settle for a cup of coffee instead. Day 157 is our first Friendship Friday in June, and Julia is having a little party with me and Butch. Felicity wants to come to my place, And since she's wearing her fitness top, I figure she'll appreciate checking out the climbing wall in my indoor park. Peanut's doing evening yoga, and Olive's taking a walk with her little mint ice cream cone. Bo begs me for a surfboard, and I'm able to return his missing bag. When I hear the sound of shooting stars, I check around the island to see if Celeste is visiting, and she is actually hanging out on the Stargazing cliff. It's all worth it. Our decorating efforts have been rewarded. I send out another batch of postcards for the villagers and end the evening with a cup of coffee at the Roost. Day 158 is here, and it looks like we're going to the concert in the rain. Also this. Olive and this mushroom umbrella is everything. It's almost enough to keep my spirits up when I spot another Arapaima shadow outside Felicity's house, and the stinking fish gets away again. I pop by the KK Slider show and then zip along to Harv's Island for another photography session with Cyrus and Reese. Next, I head to Happy Home Paradise and drop off some more supplies for Nico, and finally get around to designing a diner core restaurant for Lottie that we name Plate. Octavian is the head chef, and I couldn't be happier for him. Day 159 kicks off a new week, and for Wildcard Sunday, I want to get on my fishing grind. I'm just too excited about all the new June critters. So many of the villagers are gathered in the plaza, so I spend some time socializing with all of them. And of course I have to stop by Peanut's house to help her celebrate her birthday. I finally catch the mahi-mahi off the pier, and even though it took a lot of fish bait, I caught some exciting new fish from the sea as well, and secured another milestone for Island Ichthologist. I grabbed a cup of coffee from Brewster after I donated my new fish to the museum, and learned that Olive loves to meditate in the bug exhibit, which is just the sweetest, cutest lore. I used the rest of my time to catch a few sea creatures and secure another encounter with Pascal. Day 160 is here, and the summer rain is coming down. I start with a cabin boat tour and then check out all the newest inventory at the co-op on Harv's. At Happy Home Paradise, the recipes from Nico keep coming, and I drop off another round of materials for him as well. The client I chose for today's design was Peggy, because she had the very unique request of wanting to be a food reporter at a grocery store, and that was just too weirdly specific to turn down. I'm not sure I've ever really encountered Peggy, but she is an extremely cute pig. I'm officially a fan. This also marks the 20th vacation home I've completed, so me and the crew celebrate with a little party at the Cafe Bean. Day 161 is another beautiful sunny plant day. I tackle a project that is long overdue, which is cleaning up the weeds and flowers that have completely overtaken our beautiful rock garden. I use some strategic custom code placement so that hopefully it won't get so overgrown again. And the end result is very satisfying to behold. I can hardly believe how far the island has come since January, and the insane quest to make the rocks spawn here. I make a pit stop with Flick to order another bug model, and then I clean up the hybrid pens and water them to reset the breeding chances. Still no purple windflowers or green mums, but at least I've gotten some purple hyacinths. I also do some general flower cleanup in the field and toss some of the non-hybrid flowers. I've still got more flowers to plant for the Nook achievement, so I'm going to need to make some room back here eventually for those seeds. I harvest the orchard and finally tick off a milestone for pick of the bunch. Only, 2,000 more fruits to sell to finish the category. Also, Kyle, why? Why does he want to move out already? I like him here, and I don't want to find a new smug villager, so I convince him to stay. Day 162 is a gorgeous summer afternoon for Wednesday decorating, but first, 2 cuties on a bench. And a very dramatic sick Julia. And shopping with Sahara. But now we can decorate. I feel like it would make a logical and satisfying transition to continue the market street on the other side of the bridge, with a few rustic farmer stalls beside the orchard. I definitely want to honor our native fruit with a stall that offers orange-based treats, and a veggie stall where you can purchase fresh crops from our island's sprawling farms. I experiment with some whimsical pathing choices and some new shrubs to round out the area. And also realize that I need to fill in this awkward corner space, so I turn it into a cluttered storage and supply pile. Also, of course, we've got to put our newest bug model on display. Day 163 is our Critter Catching Thursday, and I've caught a lot of the new evening critters, so it's time to focus on the daytime critters. Also, I'm sorry, why is Olive on such a roll? Why do I catch her every single day doing something adorable? Nook's Cranny has stocked an extremely important furniture item today. It's the karaoke system. If you know me even a little bit, you know that karaoke is my happy place. I fish at the pond until I secure the giant snake head. I also agree to CJ's challenge since he is right here and I will be fishing a lot today. And it's actually worthwhile because he drops some flick lore on us. I spend the rest of the day fishing at the river, soaking up the vibes, and hit the halfway milestone for the daunting Angling for Perfection category. Day 164 is a rainy friendship Friday the 13th, and to kick things off, I take out a hefty withdrawal of bells to pick up this opulent throne from the shop. We've got a campsite villager, and I'm screaming, crying, throwing up because it's Frobert, and he's very cute. I take a chance on inviting him to the island, but it wasn't in the cards, so it's time to move on and tend to all the cuties who do want to live on honey cake. Sparrow is literally cooking in his vampire outfit, and it is hilarious beyond description. And Eunice confronts me with an innocent question that actually sends me into an existential spiral. I send the villagers some extremely thoughtful and eloquent postcards, and hit a popular pen pal milestone. Then I make a run to Harv's Phototopia to host another session with our friends Reese and Cyrus. Day 165 is a pleasant Saturday evening and Kyle's in my yard again. I think he might be obsessed with me. Something terrible happens at Abel's shop when I accidentally choose the option to wear my purchases from the dressing room, so now we have to roll with it. We're going to the KK Slider concert, the island's hottest event, wearing sparkling heels, a pineapple shirt, and a ninja mask. I knock out another photo session with Reese and Cyrus, and then head straight to HHP, where I can at least change into my work clothes. I build a regal castle throne room for my client Nox tonight, and drop off more materials for Nico in the crafting box. Day 166 is another exciting Wildcard Sunday. I spend today vibing out and doing a little bit of everything. I peruse my Nook Miles app for a bit and just try to chip away in categories that I feel like maybe I've given less of my focus to so far. Clam digging, fruit selling, seashell selling, fossil assessment, bug catching, wood shopping, sea creatures, and visits from Pascal are particularly on my radar. The halfway point of the challenge is fast approaching, and this seems like an important moment to assess and reflect so I can set myself up for success for part 2. Moving on to day 167, we're back at our Monday errands day. It's finally time to invite other villagers to come bask in Reese and Cyrus's anniversary celebration, and I'm rewarded with their commemorative wedding plate. I check in with the co-op shops, and at work there's a bit of drama as Lottie gets sick and has to be medevaced to a hospital. Nico and I bravely hold down the fort to create a jock vacation home for Jitters, and of course Lottie returns safe and sound. I take my boat tour with Captain and make an effort to chop wood while I'm there for some incremental progress towards the rough-hewn achievement. Day 168 is a Tuesday plants day. I knock out the fruit harvest, and because it's already raining to water things, I harvest the crop field too. I've been enjoying the cushion in my bank account from the last time I picked up gold from a treasure island. But I don't want to rest too comfortably on just that, so I'd like to turn a solid profit today. I have to pause the plant focus for a bit when Olive, in her super cute pink rain outfit, invites us to relax at her place for a while. I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but the villagers that attended Reese and Cyrus's anniversary party apparently got plates of their own that they put on display, and that's such a fun little detail. I circle back to my fruit trees and chop some wood, and then I plant all the rest of the flower seeds I've got in storage to successfully complete the Flower Power Nook Mile achievement. Day 169 is a Wednesday, but I convinced myself that it was a Thursday, so I spent all my energy on critters. June is more than halfway finished, and there are a few milestones that I'm reasonably close to hitting, and I'm determined to make that happen before the end of the month. I dedicate a good amount of time to catching as many bugs as I can, as I'm striving to hit the 500 mark. Then I pivot to catching sea creatures, getting another visit from Pascal, and continuing until I get the milestone for 250 creatures caught. I also assess all the fossils I've accumulated in storage to collect the milestone for 300 fossils assessed. Day 170 is a Thursday, but in my off-kilter brain, it's a friendship day, so I'm looking cute for a Friday evening connecting with our friends. Here they are, looking cute, being adored and cared for. Kyle, why are you yelling? Eunice asks for a new catchphrase, and I choose snuggle, because that's just what I think of when I look at her. Pico is our campsite villager, acting as though we aren't already well acquainted from the lovely vacation home I built for her. I notice some shooting stars and hunt around for Celeste, but it doesn't look like she's here tonight. So I write another round of postcards and do some group stretches before calling it a night. Day 171 is an actual Friday, which I finally put together when I head to the plaza for KK Slider's concert and realize he's not here. I order the seasonal offerings from Nook Shopping. I haven't actually checked in a minute and I nearly missed the sunflower items, and then pop into Red's boat to see what he brought on his visit. My daily focus is slightly off, so I correct course by choosing a decorating project to make up for my missed Wednesday decorating. I order some new customization for my house exterior, something that better matches the subtle color palette and aesthetic that has been emerging over time as the island has grown. I really want to give myself a properly decorated yard. I clear out the overgrown mums and add some hedging and homey touches, finalizing the look with the custom codes I've been growing attached to as markers of the island's vibe. Day 172 is Saturday, and I'm back on schedule now. It's the summer solstice, so I'm dressed for the vibes, and I'm really pleased with my yard and my exterior renovations. I get a complimentary thank you card for my eloquent letter writing skills. You're welcome, villagers. And my favorite jock boy is sick, so I must take care of him. And then I can rock out to the KK Slider concert. I pull the trigger on purchasing another storage expansion for my house, and then I move on to some Saturday interior decorating at home. I renovate the crafting and playroom to try and make the colors a little more cohesive, and then add even more touches to my bedroom. Honestly, I don't know what HHA wants from me anymore, so I'm just throwing things out and seeing what sticks. Day 173 is a wildcard Sunday, a great chance to shine in the mariachi costume that Butch gifted me. My HHA evaluation complements my feng shui, so yay I guess, but still no gold trophy. There's a lot of interesting social dynamics on the island today. Besties Bo and Julia are hanging out again. This is one of my favorite oddball friendships on the island. Kat recruits me to run interference and patch things up between her and Eunice. And gardening buddies Peanut and Olive are having an afternoon out in the plaza. I work on the fruit harvesting, wood chopping, and fossil collection that have been haunting me perpetually, and hit a milestone for clam digging. I also catch some bugs to reach the 500 bugs caught milestone, and treat myself to a coffee break after a Sunday well spent. Day 174 begins the last full week of June, and it starts with the announcement of our first ever bug off. I also get invaded by a cutie before I can even start my day. I tried to see if Olive wanted to do some activities together in the playroom, but I guess she wasn't interested. Now it's time to seize the day, and Mondays are for errands. But first, 2 cuties on a bench. And a Kiki with our favorite camel. And after some serious hesitation, I decide to let Peanut leave the island. It's heart-wrenching because she's been here so long, but if she's ready to leave, I'm ready to let her go. The weekly boat trip with Captain brings us to an exciting cherry blossom island, which is great because I didn't get that many cherry blossom recipes or petals, and it marks another milestone in sailing for adventure. Next errand is Harv's, and he gives us the wedding fence DIY for taking over his job. Reese and Cyrus also finally allow me to create a wedding set for them that isn't just pink and white. The wedding day event is nice and all, but it can feel a little repetitive. Then it's off to HHP, where I drop off the final set of materials for Nico's DIYs and make a cozy vacation home for little Benjamin. Day 175 is our Tuesday plants day, and we're making the island loop. First, I've got to check all the trees to clear out the wasps, and then it's more of the never-ending quest to chop 5,000 pieces of wood for the Nook achievement. I harvest all my fruit trees, and then I chop even more wood, from them, of course. I also have to pop in to say our goodbyes to our longtime resident Peanut. I'm so glad she's wearing her jester outfit today. I will miss your shenanigans, little one. Then I get hangout attacked by Kat in the plaza, and I'm glad we've grown close enough for her to confide in me that she's terrible at the drums. Her rockstar persona is all a lie. I finish my day by crafting a whole bunch of axes, because the wood chopping grind will continue next week and burn right through them all. Day 176 is a Wednesday, but instead of decorating today, we've got to search for a replacement for Peanut's plot. I already have another peppy villager with Felicity, so I don't have any villager in mind specifically. We'll just see what the hunt reveals. Victoria on ticket number 1 was kind of a tempting customer. I love the horses, and she's got the earth tones and yellow that I want for our color palette, but I'm not quite feeling it in the end. I am making an effort to fully harvest the Mystery Island for weeds, fruit, and wood, because collecting all of those things is necessary for eventual Nook Mile achievements, as well as shaking trees for furniture. Ticket number 2 has Sylvia the purple kangaroo, who I know I'm not interested in, so I'll just get straight to collecting those resources. Ticket number 3 brings us to Dora, who seems a little boring for me, but I'm going all in today on the mystery tour, so we're going past the 3-ticket limit. Oh, great, Rolf again. We shall pass again. Ticket number 5 brings us to Plucky. I do like the chickens, and I do like the sisterly villagers, and I do just really like her vibe. So it's decided, she's the one. I head home with all of my loot and even earn a milestone for Greedy Weeder. I also take care of our drunk pirate friend on the beach, of course. Day 177 is another Critter Thursday, and we're looking for night critters, y'all. I make the tried and true island wilderness loop to check for stump spawning bugs, fossils, and of course to check for any appearances from our late night friends Celeste or Wisp. Sadly, I find neither. I do get approached by Olive to deliver a thank you present to Felicity, and not only does our groovy kitty look legitimately precious in the kids' smock, but this marks another milestone for our Smile Isle achievement. We also have a new resident tonight, and boy does her house not match Peanut's old yard at all, but I'm still very happy to welcome Plucky to our island. I dedicate most of my time to trying to catch those summer sharks, but sadly I don't catch any new fish tonight. I hear some shooting stars and decide maybe I should check one more time for Celeste, and sure enough I actually find her to secure another one of her DIYs. You almost got away from me, Celeste. Lastly, I go diving in the murky evening waters to hunt for sea creatures. Day 178, we venture out in the rain to make our rounds for Friendship Friday. We cure Sparrow of his unfortunate fleas. My gift giving finally lands me Olive's photo to display in her yard. Kyle and Julia are hanging out. Maybe she's giving him tips on how to woo Olive. Felicity shocks me by thinking about changing her iconic bob. Butch looks like he's ready to hop on an evening flight at the airport, so I give him a gift for the road. I get to check out new girl Plucky's interior for the first time, a vibrant beach hideaway. Kat's getting hyped for the bug off and shows me her feisty side to warn me about trampling flowers. Eunice gives us a kindly respite from the rain, and unfortunately, no matter where I looked tonight, I couldn't find our little beau. What mischief is he getting up to? Flick is here talking up the bug off, so I sell him our stash of bugs, and then stop by the airport to send out postcards. This lands us another popular pen pal milestone. I was gonna end the night with a group stretch when Beau finally shows his face in the plaza. I guess he's been hunting for wharf roaches. I don't have time to catch him one, but luckily I have one in storage I can give him. And now I can carry out our group stretches with the satisfaction of knowing I've managed to talk to every villager today. I'm so excited for day 179 because it's Honeycake's very first bug off. Sparrow swears on his epic triceps he won't lose to me, and with that, I'm decided. His name is Sparrow. This boy wants to fight. I check in with some villagers to see if they're ready for the big day. Plucky's made herself right at home, and Eunice is fully locked in. Now it's time to talk to Flick and begin round 1 of our first bug off. After having our first fishing tournament only 10 days into the challenge, I've been looking forward to this event for quite a while now. I have no shortage of love for all the critter catching in this game, but I'd be lying if I said that catching bugs wasn't my favorite. It just feels a little more scenic and active and exciting than fishing or diving for creatures. I have such a good time that this is really all I do today, besides the usual checking of the shops. After I finish round 1, I enter another 3 times and collect my prizes from Flick with joy. Day 180 is the last wildcard Sunday of part 1 of the challenge, and with just 2 days remaining in June, I'm focused on making them count. I gather enough seashells to sell to earn the next milestone in that category, as well as customize some items to hit the next milestone for furniture freshener. I dedicate a bit of time to the usual chores of chopping wood, finding fossils and catching critters, and pick up a very important shirt from Abel's shop. Then I make a trip to Harv's Island for some shopping and another anniversary photo shoot. Wedding season is nearly done. I spend the rest of my day focused on setting myself up to make the most out of the second half of the challenge. I have a lot of Treasure Island trips banked, so I go all out on stocking up on resources. Plenty of fish bait for the continued Critterpedia hunt, more DIYs, and resources aplenty, especially customization kits which are tedious to buy, and the zodiac fragments that take a long time to build up. After the invigorating shopping spree, I unwind with a KK Slider concert to end the day. Day 181 is the last day for part 1 of the challenge. I'm sticking with my usual daily focus schedule to continue into July for part 2, so that means we'll tackle the usual Monday off-island errands. But once we settle into part 2, I'm already brainstorming some ways to shake things up and create new ways to shape the gameplay for the second half. This has been a great structure to help me balance my play and get a taste of everything for the first 6 months. And now that we've come this far, I'll be dedicating part 2 to hone in on patterns of play that will help us push to complete as many things as possible. I know that I won't be completing 100% of the achievements, and I'm okay with that. I still want to have things to look forward to when the update drops and I return to playing in real time. In my head, I'm playing a weird but fun game of negotiating how to make an island that is finished, but not really finished, by January 15th in IRL time. On Harv's Island, I do one final photo shoot to close out wedding season, wishing Reese and Cyrus many more years of joy together. I love love. Then at Happy Home Paradise, my DIY saga with Nico has come to an end, which feels fitting for our halfway checkpoint. I also finally get access to the Poke ABD, which is great for being able to catalog items from Wardell. Bells are a lot easier to get than Poke. My final client for part 1 is Callie, who gets a simple and relaxing laundromat. Everyone's ideal vacation. We have now officially reached the halfway point of the challenge, and I'm stunned and elated by how it's all evolved. I am certifiably obsessed with playing the game in this way, constantly checking the Nook Miles app and setting interim goals, creatively finding ways to balance the different elements of the game under the constraints of time, and just being able to see the island story emerge through the changing seasons at an accelerated pace. In just under 200 hours of gameplay, we have managed to catch 513 fish and catalog 62 species, spent 45 days talking to every villager, caught 595 bugs, and cataloged 51. We've completed the DIY category and collected 200 recipes. We've caught 274 sea creatures and cataloged 28 species in the Critterpedia. We've constructed 260 tools and 215 pieces of furniture, and customized 100 of them. We've chopped 2,578 pieces of wood, collected over 50 recipes and crafted 32 dishes, trashed 133 tools, collected and assessed 312 fossils. We've obtained over 20 types of gyroids. We've sold 1,202 weeds, planted 300 flowers, and watered 1,000 flowers. We've planted 12 trees, sold 648 pieces of fruit, planted many shrubs, planted 200 crops, and collected 1,000 from our fields. Sold 531 seashells and collected 105 clams. Caught 7 pieces of trash and completed the Castmaster achievement. We've completed the Dream House and Decorated Decorator achievements and placed 136 pieces of furniture in our house. We've increased our house storage to the maximum and it's almost full. We've remodeled the house 4 times and completed 51 tasks for our villagers in the Smile Isle achievement. We have over 40 reactions and we've been taking pictures, edited our passport, using our Nook phone aplenty, and purchased over 200 items through the Nook shopping app. Our catalog is well over 500 items at this point, and we've completed 525 Nook Miles tasks. We've purchased many loans, sold many items, and spent over 5 million bells. We've invested in the stock market a bit and collected a profit of over 40,000 bells. We've written 50 letters to our friends, collected 6 fleas, caught 5 wasps in a row, crafted a pitfall and taken a tumble in it. We've been stung by wasps and bitten by tarantulas, been defrauded by red, popped a balloon over the water, popped 211 balloons, put down some fences, created 20 perfect snowboys, wished on 133 shooting stars, updated our flag, and dabbled in terraforming and waterscaping, seen Wisp the Ghost 7 times, and found Gulliver 17 times. We've attended 17 KK Slider concerts, purchased over 20 pieces of art from Red, and seen our friend Pascal 14 times. We've taken 21 boat tours, and been to the Roost 24 times. We've done 15 stretching sessions, and we've made plenty of friends, including attending 5 birthdays. We celebrated our own birthday, we've done 2 fishing tournaments and 1 bug-off, we've enjoyed many changes of outfit, and planted our fair share of money trees. We've collected 71 pieces of furniture from shaking trees, and even though we got our gold tools from a treasure island, so this achievement isn't fully accurate, we have acquired naturally the recipe for the golden watering can. There's a lot more to come. Reviewing all this helps me formulate my game plan for part 2, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see how it all turns out in the end. You can also follow me on Twitch as Ktabulous, same as my YouTube name, to watch this and other playthroughs live. If you've enjoyed your time here, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like the video. Also, if you've done or want to do your own Animal Crossing challenges, tell me about them in the comments. I love being able to approach my favorite games from new and creative angles. Thanks for hanging out. Take it easy.